Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome. Great. Audio cutting in and out. Might something is definitely acting up. Ah, there we go. Okay, should be fine. Should be fine now. Sorry about that. My audio was just quiet, and so my noise gate was cutting it out. Okay, let us get started. We do have a guest. Oh, fuck. No. All right, let us bring up our first guest, though. We already have a few. Let's do it. Bring up Apollo.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Apollo, how's it going?
Oh, it's been fine actually. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Apollo, is that the real Apollo? The one that, you know, is the god of song?
Nah, that's not me, man. That's not me.
Surely you don't believe in a monotheistic god while having the name of a pagan god.
Well, the name is inspired by the space station, not the pagan god, so.
Okay, well, the space station, you mean the spacecraft?
The spacecraft, yes.
Well, the spacecraft was inspired by the pagan god. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do you believe in a god, Apollo?
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I don't. Which god is it that you believe in? I just don't want to make any incorrect assumptions about you.
Yeah, I believe in the Islamic god. For this conversation, I'll be defending the position that an omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe exists.
Yeah, okay, sure. And I just want to be clear, do you take it that the omniscient, omnipotent creator of the universe has a mind of some kind?
Of course, definitely.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I've talked with
so my argument
at least one person who says otherwise, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my argument is a bit niche. You won't see this argument anywhere. It's an ontological argument, which it's not defining God into existence. That's a disclaimer. However, I combine metaphysical principles alongside what God is, definitionally, to establish why God necessarily exists.
So to be clear, it sounds like you've already defined the God as an omniscient, omnipotent being. Is there some extra thing on top of that that you're going to be adding?
No, I'm not going to define existence into the specific thing. I'm going to say that existence, rather, it would be entailed, given that definition, alongside certain metaphysical principles that I can prove to be logically necessary.
Okay,
so
okay, that's fine. Just before we start, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. So, it's not just an omnipotent, omniscient being; it's also an omnipotent, omniscient being with a mind, right?
Of course, yes, definitely. I think omniscience, given my understanding of knowledge, is going to entail intentionality, and that's going to be a feature of consciousness, given my understanding. So,
sure. As long as we're like using these words in like the kind of the standard way, I'm on board. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Okay. So, so I have a principle. So the argument is going to be something like this. It's going to be something like, if it is the case that something has internally consistent first order properties, then necessarily it exists. That's going to be the principle, rather, that I'm going to be operating under for the argument.
So if something has, and so I'll write this as just a, why isn't this deleting? If something has an internally consistent, sorry, repeat it?
Yeah, replace the word something with God, please. Yeah.
Well, presumably this is a principle, so it should apply to anything that has this property, right?
Of course, yes, but I'm given like a modus ponens argument, so the antecedent has to be the exact same.
Oh, no, I just want to know what the principle is.
Of course.
I'm not writing down a formal argument yet.
Gotcha. So the principle is just, if something has an internally consistent set of first order properties, then necessarily it exists. Necessarily.
That's interesting.
And that's going to be that's going to be like a strict implication.
And when you say first order properties, you mean first order in like the sense of like first order logic, or do you mean like some other notion?
Well, in that sense, insofar as it tells you what the thing actually is. So in metaphysics specifically, there's a distinction between two categories of properties. You have first order properties and you have second order properties.
Go ahead.
Yeah, first order properties are going to be features of a definition.
Features of a definition?
Yeah, so it tells what the thing is qualitatively. So that's why someone like Immanuel Kant, and I'm pretty sure you know about this, he will say that existence is not a predicate. And when he's actually saying this, what he's actually really saying is existence is not a first order property.
Okay, so it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like I could just come up with something that only has one first order property, and then it would follow that it necessarily exists because there's no room for an internal contradiction because there's only one such property.
Yeah, well, I'm a necessitarian, so that's going to be a problem for my view, to be honest. So that's
why would that be a problem for you? For your view?
I'm saying it would not be a problem.
Oh, okay. So like, so let's say I call something a schmungus, and a schmungus only has the property of being everywhere. The only property it has, being everywhere, being omnipresent, if you will.
That would be a second order property.
Being everywhere is a second order. Okay, so let's say it only has the property of. Let's say it only has the property of omnipotence, where omnipotence is understood to mean anything that it desires, it can do. Now, of course, it doesn't desire anything. It doesn't desire anything because it doesn't have any other properties, but it still has this property of omnipotence.
Okay, you're finished? Okay, cool. So you're talking about it being the case that you're defining omnipotence such that it is the case that this thing is the type of thing which anything it can desire, it can do, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty standard definition of omnipotence, right?
Yeah, no, well, actually, just to be clear on this, I want to get clear on a couple of things. That, yeah, you can define omnipotence as that, but at the same time, if you're defining omnipotence to be that, you're quite literally conceding to a God existence.
Well, I don't think that's the case. But like, how are you defining omnipotence? Just that way, then I want to make just so we can make clear that we're agreeing on words.
Omnipotence is just going to be the ability to actualize all logical possibilities. And
the ability to actualize all logical possibilities.
Absolutely. Okay. So that will actually be entailed from your position there. So if you're going to be saying, before I interrupt, if you're trying to give it as a counterexample to my actual principle, if you're going to use that as an example and say, well, given your principle, this being would exist, well, that being would literally just be God under my position, and that would be a concession from your perspective.
Wait a minute. So to be clear, if I take your God, if I take the thing that you consider a God, right? The definition that you've offered, rather, omnipotent and omniscient, and I just strip away the omniscient property, then it seems like that thing would necessarily exist.
Well, I have an argument as to why omniscience would be a necessary characteristic of an omnipotent being separately, so that's fine.
So would an omniscience then be a secondary characteristic rather than a first order one?
No, it would be a second order characteristic.
Sorry, I didn't mean secondary. Second order property, right?
No, because the second order property is something which is exempt from a definition. It tells you how a thing is being instantiated, not the things which are going to be baked into the qualitative status of the given thing metaphysically speaking.
Okay, so when you say that a first order property is a feature of a definition, those can also be theorems derived from a definition, not just the definition itself.
I'm not sure what you understand enough theorems in this given context.
A derivable proposition or a derivable feature of a thing based off of some priors.
No, because those could just be synthetically entailed facts. Like those could be necessary facts which are entailed synthetically, but I'm talking about analytic facts. I'm saying that, like, so first order property, just to clarify, just for clarity purposes, it would just be identical to the set of all analytic facts. So if you have the set of first order property, it would be the set of all analytic properties, basically.
So it's your claim that like omnipotence is analytically equivalent to omniscience?
Wait, hold on a second. That's not the claim I'm making. The claim I'm making.
Okay, because you said that omniscience. You said that omniscience is logically derivable from omnipotence. If I at least,
yeah, but that's not the same as me saying omniscience is not a part of the first.
So then it's just not the case that omniscience is like. Look, so you can either include omniscience as part of the definition, or you can treat it as a derived feature of God given omnipotence, right?
I don't think I understand this. So I'm saying that omniscience is an inseparable characteristic of omnipotence. So
it's not inseparable.
No, I'm saying it is.
It is inseparable. Okay, so
wait, could you just hold on with the interruption? Give me one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to say that insofar as it is the case that you establish an omnipotent being existent, you can establish as to why that being would also be the type of thing which is omniscient. Not insofar as omniscience is a second order property or is derivable from omnipotence solely, but also it being the case that these two properties are inseparable and they're within the same category of first order properties you attribute to this given being.
I'd actually like to hear the argument for that if you can, because it seems like it's at least logically possible that one can have a being that can instantiate, or like something that can instantiate all logically possible things, and doesn't have a mind at all.
Based off you saying there's an absence of contradiction and that there's always reverse modal responses to those types of arguments.
So look, I'm not making an argument. I'm just saying like it seems at least plausible that they're separable. So if you can provide an argument that they're inseparable, that'd be great.
I wanted to prove that God exists first, but I mean, if you want to go on to that, that's
I mean,
fine.
like,
So,
okay, yeah, we can do that if you want, but
yeah,
the reason
that
why,
argument, just to be clear.
just to be
Yeah,
clear,
just
the
to be
reason
clear.
why I'm pressing on this is because it seems like this is far too strong of an existence property, or of an existence theorem, not existence property. It seems
so
like
the
it's
argument-
exceedingly strong, and it seems like it has. It at least has seeming counterexamples, right?
Okay.
Anything with one property would necessarily exist, and that seems like, you know, it's a little bit strange, right? Because
so
we can
I
just
understand, but I get
conceptualize
this
a whole bunch
objection
of
all the
things.
time. So,
Yeah. So like, what's the resolution to assuage my?
Yeah, the resolution is pretty simple. But
my
before I give
worry.
the resolution, before I give the resolution, I want to give a clarification. So,
Yeah, sure.
like, I get this response all the time. Like, people say, "Oh, what about a unicorn? What about like a magical horse?" And these things just exist as an imagination, under my perspective. I think there are imaginary objects, i.e., objects which exist as an imagination, and things which exist objectively. And just to be clear on this, I'm not saying God exists as an imagination. I'm going to pull that weird cheap move. I'm going to say that God exists objectively, and I can get onto that. Now, you want the argument as to why it is the case that an omnipotent being would be omniscient, right? So,
well, hold on. Before we move off of what you just said, so when you say necessarily it exists, are you saying that things can necessarily exist, but only like conceptually, not in actuality?
Necessarily existence. So existence, under my view, is going to range over objective and mind-dependent objects, right?
Okay, but so surely then we can understand that this particular principle will not get you to a God actually existing.
Oh, it does actually. It does get you to a God existing. You can dispute over the way in which God exists, and that's going to be a
argument. So, sorry, that's why I said actually existing, as in existing in the actual world or existing in the real world, perhaps, rather than existing conceptually or existing in the mind.
Just to be clear, I think imaginary objects exist in the real world because imaginary objects are identical to imaginations, and it is universally agreed upon, even in neuroscience, that imaginations are actually existent objects. So.
Okay, I mean, like we can have a conversation about that, but all I mean is that the concept. So surely things can exist in both the mind and I don't know what word you want to use, and like,
something can exist as a concept and as a mind-independent object. Yep.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So some things exist conceptually and mind independently, you know, the sun, right? But some things only exist conceptually, and so if you want to establish, it seems like this principle is only going to establish that it exists in at least one of them, right?
Yeah. So of course, so the argument that I'm going to deliver, by the way, is going to establish, without begging the question, by the way, that God existent conceptually is a logically contradictory proposition, and that's pretty easy to establish. Pretty easy argument.
Okay. Yeah. So then go ahead. Go ahead. You can make the argument.
Yeah. So just to be clear, do you agree that if a being is omnipotent, then it has to be independent of all things? Yes or no? Do you agree with this?
How are you defining omnipotent? Just being able to actualize all potentials?
Yeah, of course. So
it doesn't seem like that follows. No.
Yeah, of course it does. So if it was to be the case that you have,
well, then make the argument rather than asking me a question.
Yeah, I'm going to give the argument.
Okay, so your first premise is that an omnipotent being, is, and what was it? Is it's independent?
Yeah, if an omnipotent being exists, or if there's a being which is omnipotent, then it has to be the case. It is independent of all things. That means it's self-sufficient.
Must be independent of all things. Is that what you said? I just don't want to write down. Okay. I.e., it's self-sufficient.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. What's the argument for that?
Okay. So the argument is quite simple. So if we're just going to like a reductive absurdum. So if you take the negation, that means it is the case that there exists an omnipotent being that is going to be dependent. Then that means in that world in which it is dependent, it will not be able to actualize the logical possibility of instantiating the object in which it is dependent on.
So just to be clear,
there's a logical possibility, it's unable to actualize.
So an omnipotent being exists, and that omnipotent, I don't know why I can't type this morning, being is dependent on at least one thing. That's the negation. Okay, so what's the okay, yeah, so go ahead, make the argument.
So the logical possibility there entailed from that prop is that X exists, right? Now X's existence, which is going to be something which is a logical possibility, in that world in which the omnipotent being is dependent on X, would not be actualized by the omnipotent being, but vice versa.
Oh, so where'd my screen just go?
Hold on, real quickly.
Sorry, no, my screen just disappeared. You're good. Okay.
Oh.
So we're considering a possible world. So I'm just gonna write this down so then we can make sure that we're tracking. So we're considering a possible world. So from the above, there exists a possible world in which the omnipotent being exists, and it's dependent on at least one thing, and thus it did not instantiate that possible world.
No, it did not instantiate the possibility of X existing, because the possibility of X existing in that world is independent of the omnipotent being existing, because remember that X is what is instantiated the omnipotent being. So that would mean, before I interrupt, that would mean that there's one possibility, one logical possibility, which this omnipotent being is not in control of, nor is it actualizing, which contradicts our definition, which we both agreed on, which is simply an omnipotent being is a being that actualizes all logical possibility.
I'm sorry, this doesn't contradict that definition. Instantiating a possibility is not the same thing as actualizing a possibility. These are not the same thing.
Wait, we're talking about actualizing, which is to say that it causes
actualizing the possible is the things that makes possible things actual. Making something possible is not the same thing as making something actual, making something possible actual.
You disagreed with me, because if you're agreeing that actualizing is going to be indicative of making the possibility actual, the possibility of X existing will not be made actual in virtue of the omnipotent being existent.
Are you saying that are you saying that the possibility was actualized, or that it being possible was the actualization of something?
Okay, just walk with me. What I'm saying here, okay, is that X's existence, which is causally responsible for the omnipotent being, right? Which is what it is.
Wait, hold on. I thought X was the omnipotent being. Is X the omnipotent being, or is X something else?
No, X is not. X is the cause for the omnipotent being.
Hold on. So just to be clear, how are you using the word cause? Are you using it in like some sort of temporal explanation, or are you using it in some sort of grounding relation?
I go under a functional asymmetric dependence theory of causation.
Okay, so this can be a grounding explanation. This could be some sort of temporal explanation. This could be some sort of perhaps even like spatial relation or something like that.
It is kind of similar to a grounding explanation, but my theory of causation is very similar to the mechanisms of mathematical functions, so it's very neat. As I've said, my arguments are really.
So it's like an implication.
It is not an implication per se, because an implication would indicate that it would necessarily follow from my kind of causation that it is a grounding relation.
Implications are what you use in mathematics. So like, what sense of causation are you using if not that?
It's using logic, like use implications in logic as well, right? Like
sure, it's used in logic and in mathematics. Sure. So what sense? So then, what sense are you using it? I just don't know what you mean by cause here. Because like when I see the word dependent, I'm thinking of like some sort of like grounding relation.
Okay, so when I talk about cause, I'm talking about a reason for something else's existence, and the reason
an explanation.
For something else, an explanation which is compatible with the type of thing which something else is dependent on. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say that there's an omnipotent being that it must be independent of all things, you just mean that there is no reason that it exists.
No. I don't think it to be the case that reasons and causes are the exact same thing. So if you look at
there is no explanation for its existence. How about?
There's no causal explanation. Yes. Yeah.
Well, but you said that a cause is an explanation.
No, I said a cause is a type of explanation, not an explanation.
Yeah. So all causes are explanations.
All causes explanations.
Okay, so then right. Okay, sure. I'm on board with that. All causes are explanations. Not all explanations are causes. So what kind of explanation is a cause?
What kind of explanation is a cause would be the thing that I'm talking about insofar as the asymmetric functional theory of causation.
All explanations are asymmetric.
But not all explanations are functional.
Okay, so when you say functional, you mean that like there is some sort of like domain and range in like the mathematics sense?
Wait. Before I even go on to the functional part, and yes, I'm talking about in the sense of mathematics, but before I go into that, I want to focus on the first point. They said all explanations are asymmetric.
Yeah, of course they are.
Not true.
Can you give me an example?
Because when you're talking, that's not true. Because when you're talking about explanations in the context of philosophy, especially, you're taking that to be reasons. In a lot of cases, and under the strong PSR account, you have two types of reasons. You have internal reasons and you have external reasons. So, for example, if I say a triangle has three sides, and the reason for that is in virtue of the nature of a triangle, that would not be an external reason.
No, it's in virtue of the nature of it's in virtue of the definition of a triangle, right?
Yeah, but that would not be asymmetric.
No, it is. The definition explains why the triangle has three sides. The triangle doesn't explain why the definition is that way.
The definition is just a substitute for the term. It's a term substitute, so they're the same thing.
It's not just a term. Well, okay, but in that case, then the definition just isn't an explanation. If that's what you take the definition to be.
Hold on a second, one sec. So just
surely A doesn't explain A, right?
No, you don't understand what's going on here. So triangle, the definition, we can both agree with this. It's just going to be let's go into the definition of even a three-sided polygon, right? Is that cool?
Sure.
Okay, so when you talk about definitions, you understand that definitions are not propositional, right?
Sure. Well, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So
depending
when you
on
say
your
triangle,
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
so when you
That's
say
fine.
triangle, it's just a word to say three-sided polygon. They're the same thing.
Right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so
We
if they're
can
the same
absolutely
thing,
use
then
that
it's not
understanding of
asymmetric.
definition. So then
Wait,
there's not anything being explained.
no, there's something being explained. It's virtue of the fact you've just said a while ago. It being a three-sided polygon. What are you talking about?
A three-sided, you're not explaining anything when you say that a three-sided polygon is three-sided. That's not an explanation.
That's presupposing that explanations has to be external, which is contradicted by the
No, an explanation is supposed to be reason giving, right?
Yeah, reason given can be something internal. That doesn't have to be external or asymmetric. That's the whole point.
An identity is not reason giving. If I say that God doesn't exist because God doesn't exist, that's not an explanation, right?
It's not an explanation in the epistemic sense or in the causal sense, but the internalistic sense, of course, definitely.
Okay, so maybe we just understand the word the word explanation to mean different things, but like clearly, if I just say I just say a thing is a thing, that doesn't explain the thing.
But I want to make this clear. This is not completely proprietary or idiosyncratic. If you look under like what strong PSR states specifically, which is
that's fine. But for what it's worth, I do reject the strong PSR.
Explanation, yeah.
Okay, for what it's worth, I do reject the strong PSR, so it's neither here nor there. But the point is like clearly if you just say some proposition and you say that proposition explains itself, that doesn't give you anything. I'm like, and you know, I'm not trying to be sneaky here. I'm just saying that in the perhaps the colloquial way that we understand what an explanation is supposed to give you some reason for thinking that it's true. And if you're just repeating the thing that you're trying to explain why it's true as just the thing that you're trying to explain why it's true, it's not giving you a reason to think that it's true, right?
Yeah, but we're not having a colloquial conversation. This is a philosophical conversation.
Okay, so I understand an explanation as to be reason giving, right?
I understand that.
I.e., it should inform a rational agent, or it should be some proposition, some collection of propositions, whatever it is, that gives reason to think that the thing in question is true, or the thing in question exists, or what have you. Yeah, go ahead.
Are reasons explanations?
I would say that explanations are the kinds of things that give reasons. Reasons. Okay. I mean, you could say like reasons are, you know, maybe we say that reasons are
circular
like
reasons. Are circular reasons still reasons?
It depends on your theory of justification, really.
Not even talking about theory of justification.
No, I mean, I take reasons to be the kinds of things that give justification. So it depends on your theory of justification, of course.
Justification in the positive epistemic way, or in just any way whatsoever?
I mean, it depends on the context that we're talking in, right? Like, colloquially, we might just say that like a reason is the kind of thing that gives a justification, and like that reason could be like just some sort of observation, or it could be some proposition, or it could be some, you know, feeling, or whatever it might be, or some principle. The point is you know, as rational agents, we come to conclusions based off of reasons, and we generally, or based off of you know, justifications, we take those justifications to be reasons.
So you deny the claim that reasons can be the types of things which are internalistic in the sense I was talking about, but circular reasons would just qualify as those types of reasons, and this is agreed upon.
Not necessarily. I mean, like, in some sense they're reducible, but the circular reasons are, you know, they have some degree of separation to them, and so I can be sympathetic. That's fine. I can be sympathetic to people who are like coherentists, because there's at least some degree of separation between the coherent relations, even if they're reducible to each other.
Okay, and that doesn't dispute my point, because you made the claim that it is the case that internal reasons will not qualify as reasons or explanations. But
yeah,
even
at least the way that I understand these things.
One more thing. Even if you want to say that in the colloquial sense, this is sure, we're not having a colloquial conversation, so it's kind of like very weird to apply colloquial standards in non-colloquial conversation, which is more.
So this is why I'm being very careful with the way that I'm asking you to provide explanations, or not explanations, rather definitions for the words that you're using. And so, you know, that's why this is, you know, this is why we're doing this, right?
Okay.
So when you say,
let's go back to the omnipotent being.
Yeah, so this is fine. So when you say if there is an omnipotent being, then it must be independent of all things. So by independent, you mean that, or by independent, you mean that or by the dependency relation, just backtracking to where we were.
There's no causal explanation for the thing
right,
itself.
and so a causal explanation, what did you take a causal explanation to be? Like, what kind of explanation is a causal explanation? So it's asymmetrical, okay. Okay, so it's asymmetric,
and it's functional.
There's no asymmetric, functional. Okay, so the functional piece of your definition is a little bit confusing to me. It's not clear. It's not clear what it would mean for an explanation to be functional. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so think of like, of course, definitely. So, you know,
You're cutting out a little bit.
You know, like how functions work in mathematics, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So like,
just to
what's the
clarify
domain
for the
here? What's
audience,
the
like,
domain of the function here?
So the domain is just going to be involved in things such as so just to be clear, the input is going to be God, right? God's creative power, or God specifically, and the output would just be creation, basically, right?
Wait
So
a minute.
the
So
input
I'm
is just
sorry.
going to be God.
I'm sorry. We're talking about an explanation, right?
Yes, we're talking about an explanation. Yes,
And this is supposed to, so when we say that the omnipotent being is independent of all things, what we mean is that it's not dependent. And by dependent, what we mean is that that there is some sort of asymmetric functional explanation for the thing in question. So, for example,
yeah, but I'm not saying someone. So someone misheard
so
what I
let's say
said.
that if
the domain is God.
if
Yeah.
X has
So just to be clear, this
has a
I
causal
want to clarify one
explanation,
more thing.
then
Someone
X
said,
has then hold on, and I just really need to clarify here. Then there exists some asymmetric function that does something. This is what I want clarification on. What is it? What do you mean by there's an asymmetric functional explanation?
So when I'm talking about functions here, are you listening?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I'm talking about functions here, I'm specifically talking about it insofar as it is going to be the case that any change in the output requires a change in the output. Sorry, any change in the input requires a change in the output.
That's not what a function is.
Again, well, that's a aspect of what a function is.
That's a kind of function. That would be like an injective function.
Yeah, but you're saying that that is not what a function is, and then now
I mean that's not like a general property of functions, right?
It is a general property of functions, just this.
No, it's not. You're talking about injective functions.
No, that's incorrect. I can give an example. So if you
it's just not like if you have just to be clear, if you take x squared is a function. It's a totally well-defined function. When x is -2 and when x is +2, you get the same output, even though you have different inputs.
Are you going to let me finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you have, just type this out. If you have f of x, right, right, when you're going to have x in parentheses, and that's equivalent to x plus 3, right?
Yep.
Right. If it is the case, yeah, you understand what that means, right? It just means the function f takes an input.
Yes,
such that
I know what a function
x is going to output the number plus 3.
Yes,
right?
I'm very aware.
Okay, so if that is the case, right, then of course, if x is going to be 1, then the output is going to be 4. If x is going to be 10, the output to be something like 13. Okay, cool. So in that particular case, how would that be incompatible with the property I've said about the function?
No, this is specific. This is a specific kind of function. This is an example of an injective function.
But you're denying it being a function at all.
No, I'm not denying it's a function. I'm saying that this is not a general feature of functions.
Is this a general example of a function?
No, this is a specific example of a function. What are you talking about?
Why would you think that it is not a? What do you classify
it's not
as a
general
example of a function?
So there are no general examples of functions. That's what it means for them to be. That's what a general description is. It's not a specific example.
I don't think you understand it. So I take general examples to be the types of examples which are usually used to describe what the thing actually is.
Okay, so then what about this function? So this function can take two different inputs and give the same output, right?
Okay, cool, understood.
And so this is not the kind of function that you were talking about. This is a non-injective function.
That doesn't what I just said. Because what I'm talking about here is specifically the types of functions such that it is the case.
Okay, so you want some asymmetric injective function. That's fine.
If you want to talk about that, that's fine. But you're saying a while ago that that was not a property of functions. Then
it's not a general property of functions.
Now you changed the claim. Now you're saying it's not a
you can go rewatch the playback.
You can rewatch the clip anytime.
Yeah.
But that was a blunder in your end. So that is
okay. I guess we're being maximally bad faith now.
You're the only person with bad faith, actually. I think so.
Okay, I'm being bad faith. Yeah, I mean, so even G1's agreeing with me, by the way. But anyway, so you have some asymmetric injective functional explanation. So I talked with G1 a few weeks ago. So my question. Can you explain what this means? So like, what's the input? The input, because like if it's supposed to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to understand this as something like you give some sort of input for the thing that you're trying to explain and then it outputs an explanation, or is the input the explanation and then it outputs the thing that you're trying to explain, or
the output is the effect.
The output is obvious. Sorry, the output is what?
The effect.
Okay, so you're saying that. Okay, so you're saying that so there's some asymmetric injective functional explanation whose range, or we can say codomain, is the space of effects, or is the space of effects is fine, and whose domain is what?
The domain in this context, like what is the range and overcorrect?
Yeah, what the inputs are.
The inputs would just be God in this given context, the God's creative power.
For X? Okay, so in
Or
your
the- or the
wait, in your
fact.
definition of
Or the-
causal explanation, you're proposing that God exists?
No, it is not.
Okay, so then you can't put God in here in your definition of what a causal
think you
explanation
understand.
is.
You're saying your example is not even covering the exhaustive account of a cause explanation, because we were
This
talking
is
about
your
some
definition. I'm
points
trying to understand your
Here's
definition of what a causal explanation is.
I've already given the definition of a cause explanation, right? What you're now talking about is how this applies to God. So that's not
No, I'm not talking about how it applies to God. I'm talking about how it applies to X.
You're talking about how it applies to X, which is going to be the effect.
It's just
And you're asking me what
anything
specifically
that
would
has
be
a
the
causal
input.
explanation is X.
Anything which has a cause explanation is the
Yeah,
effect.
X is just anything with a causal explanation. I'm just trying to understand what you mean by a causal explanation.
I thought it moved on from the definition.
No, because this definition does not make any
You asked me
sense
what
to me.
X is, right?
I'm
Are you
trying to
asking me
understand what this
variable-
is.
Just to be clear, Dr. Blitz, are you
No,
asking
X
me
is just
what-
something. It's just
Hold on,
something with a
one
causal
second.
explanation.
1 second. I'm asking you this question, right? Just listen to what I'm saying. Are you asking me what does X represent
No.
insofar as what the Okay, so why did you ask me what X is?
I didn't ask you what X is.
Yes, you did.
I'm asking you what the domain is.
You asked me what X is previously. So you asked what the domain is.
Okay, suppose I did.
What are you
I want to
confused
know what the
about? That's
domain
you
is.
asked me. Okay, so the domain.
The
as
chat
in
will
the
verify
thing which
with whether
would
I
be-
asked what X is, by the way, but go ahead.
I mean, the chat was saying I was winning, so you don't want to use the chat for your standards of
Are they?
justification. They were saying this, actually.
Well, now
sure
they're
about
not.
Okay, they were saying this, right?
Maybe.
Okay, cool. So you cannot use the chat as standard of justification, correct? Got you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so not sure why you use this rhetorical move. That's pretty corny. But to get back to the point, you're taking the domain to be the inputs, right? The thing which is
That's what the domain of a
resulting.
function is, yeah.
Okay, and I've already told you that in this given case scenario, the domain would just be the thing which is going to be the explanation, or sorry, the explanation for the effect, right?
Wait, so a domain is not a thing. A domain is a space of things.
A space of things can be classified to be a thing in and of itself, so that's not mutually exclusive with each other.
So look, if the effect is X, so we're saying that like f of X is f of X is, so we're really saying that X equals like
I
f
think
of
you're
Y.
really confused on the matter.
I can
saying
assure
that
you I'm
the
not.
domain
I'm
of
trying to be
space-
maximally generous. Try not to be a dick, okay? So what you're basically saying is that X equals f of Y, where Y is the explanation, something like this, right?
Why would these? Just to be clear, are you taking Y to be
Explanation
the
for
capital
X, I should say.
Okay, cool. So
this what
the
you're saying?
explanation for X, yes.
Okay, so Y is like the space of all possible explanations, or actually no, no, I'm sorry, this is not consistent with your view. Your view is something like f of Y is the explanation for X, and
You want me to
Y
repeat my
is
view,
some
please?
fact maybe, because you're taking a causal explanation to be the function, right? It's the function.
No.
It's an asymmetric functional
You're
explanation.
misunderstanding. I've already clarified this.
Okay, so you're saying that an explanation is not
Doctor,
the
do you want
function.
to have a
It's
substantive conversation, or do you
I'd
want
love
take
to,
that
but it seems like your definition of causal explanation is like incoherent
or
at best.
substantive conversation. So hear me out. and
I'd
listen
love to,
closely.
but it seems like your definition of causal explanation is incoherent at best.
seems so, but it isn't so. So hear me
Okay,
out.
well
Listen
then actually define your terms.
I'm defining my terms, just like tracking
Please.
the definition of my terms.
I can assure you I'm
here's what I'm
tracking. I
saying.
know mathematics better than
I'm
you do.
assuring you that you're not. Here's what I'm saying right now. So I said to you specifically, not that causal explanations is identical to mathematical functions, however, they have the same mechanistic account insofar as they organize, or rather they operate like mathematical functions. You can check out the clip, you can roll this clip, this is what I said.
No, I know. So I know
Okay,
that that's what you
so
said.
why did
So
you
I'm
say-
trying to
hold on a
understand
second.
what the
Why
what
did you
the
say a while
properties
ago
that it
I
is
took a
like.
causal explanation to be a function? You said this a while ago. That's not what they said.
Well, so in what way is it like a function?
You said that my position is that the cause explanation is a function. That's not what I said, and you just agreed. So what I said instead.
Well, so
was
to be
something
clear,
else.
is this your
So why are you being
definition that there
dishonest?
exists some asymmetrical injective functional explanation? I added the word injective there because you were confused about what an injective functional explanation is. But if I remove the word injection,
Yes, of course.
this is your
Yeah,
this
so
is your
you
definition,
understand
right?
that it was the case that
This is your definition, right?
yeah, we're talking about it insofar as the mechanism is concerned.
Okay, so what does the
I just
mechanism
clarified this,
do?
Yes.
What does the mechanism
about the
what is functional doing in
mechanism
this definition?
Explains the mechanism explains. I'm about to explain, but you're interrupting.
Please.
So what it does in the definition is actually points out that it is the case that any change in the input results in a change in the effect. It's actually crucial to establish.
Okay, so you don't mean a functional explanation. You mean something like some asymmetric relation I'm going to put this in brackets just so then it's all one thing. Relation in which the input, in which a change in the input is produces a change in the output explanation. That's what you mean, right?
But hold on a second, because remember you agreed a while ago that any change under an injective functional account would actually result in a change in the output.
If it's actually a function, but now you're denying that it's a function, so I can't use that anymore.
Deny that it is a function insofar as it is a mathematical function, because we're not talking about mathematics, so we're talking about metaphysics.
Well, that's I mean, relevant. Like a mathematical function is an assignment from one set to another, right? That's all a function is. And so, like, if you're fine with that definition of what a function is, then there's no issue. Sorry, one more time.
Compatible with metaphysics.
It sure is, but you didn't want me to use the like a mathematical definition of a function. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to use the mathematical definition of a function.
Hold on a second. I never said that I have an issue with you using that definition. I had an issue with you taking, before interrupt, I had an issue with you taking a causal explanation to just be a mathematical function, because it isn't.
Okay, so then if it's not a mathematical function, then it's not a mapping from a set to another set, or from one space to another space. So if it's not that, that's fine. I'm just trying to understand your definition. It is just a relation in which a change in the input produces a change in the output. Is that all you're saying?
Do you think it is logically hold on a second, I want to get this clear. Do you think it is logically impossible for there to be some mapping relations between sets in the functional sense without it actually being mathematical function simpliciter? Do you think that's logically impossible?
So a mathematical function is just a mapping between sets.
Well, can you just answer the question? Yes or no?
That's all it is. It's an ill-formed question. That's all a mathematical function, or that's all a mathematical function is. Is it logically impossible or no? Is it a yes or no? You're asking me, is it logically impossible for a triangle to have more than 3 sides? Like obviously no. Now it's a specific kind of mapping, of course. It's not a one-to-many question or a one-to-many function, but as long as you restrict to that class, then yeah, that's just what a mathematical function is. So yes, it is the case that it's logically impossible.
Okay, so if you're agreeing, so just to be clear, if you're agreeing that it is the case that it is not logically possible to be talking about something which is not a mathematical function, even if it has the same mechanism, which is going to be the mapping relations, then there's no issue with what I said previously. What are you talking about? Wait,
but you were complaining when I was using a mathematical function to describe it. I'm just trying to be charitable here and use a different set of language because you didn't like the mathematical description.
Dr. Blitz.
What are you doing?
Dr. Blitz, we're both being good faith. Let's not do this. We're both being good faith.
Okay, so can I put some asymmetric functional explanation? Is this fine?
Why are you interrupting me? Can I finish my sentence?
You've interrupted me plenty, by the way.
Was you taking the causal explanation to just be a mathematical function, and you agreed that you can have a causal explanation or anything of matter which has the mechanism of a function mathematically without it being a function mathematically.
Yeah. So taking the causal explanation to be a function is correct. Like, if we agree that logically that's what a mathematical function is, it is a relation that is not one to many, then it is just a mathematical function. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, gotcha, cool. I was bugging out for a moment. So could you repeat your sentence, please?
So if you take a causal explanation to be a mapping that is not one to many from some set or some space or some class of stuff to some other set, class, or space or whatever, with just some sort of mapping that's not one to many, then it is a mathematical function.
Do you think that's necessarily the case such that it has to be identical to simpliciter?
That's the definition of a mathematical function, so yes.
You're not answering the question. I don't think you answered the question.
I did. I said so yes.
So we both agree. Hold on a second.
I said so yes.
So that's just clearly incorrect and incompatible with your previous agreement, because you said previously that you can in fact, don't interrupt, you can in fact have a type of thing which has a mapping relation between sets which is not identical simpliciter to a mathematical function.
Oh no, I didn't agree to that. No, you misheard me. You misheard me.
No, you said that.
No, I definitely didn't. I said that logically, yes, they are identical, as long as the mapping is not one to many.
Okay, and to be clear on this, when you talk about mathematical functions, do you think that it requires there to be mathematical objects?
Not necessarily, unless you take a function to be a mathematical object.
Okay, gotcha, cool. So I guess that was the main dispute. So because I was basically interpreting your usage of the word mathematical function to be necessarily invoking mathematical tokens or objects, then that's why I was saying that I'm not taking it to be the exact same thing, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, I was just using the standard definition of a mathematical function, which is a
Okay, cool.
Some sort of mapping
just
between
to avoid
groupings.
ambiguity, just to avoid ambiguity, right? Just to avoid ambiguity moving forward, we're just going to make this pretty clear. So let's just go with the understanding that a causal explanation is that which is the type of thing which is the source of a given thing. And when I say
It's
source,
the source.
what I mean there.
Wait, why are we just changing our definition now?
I'm not changing the definition. Stop interrupting. By source, what I mean there is that given thing is asymmetrically dependent on that given thing X. So that's not a change of the definition. So do not interrupt my point. Okay. So do you not hear this other part of my argument?
Wait. Okay. So just to be clear, I just want to clarify. So now you're saying if X has a causal explanation, then there is
no. If X is no. If X is a causal explanation.
No, I'm interested in if X has a causal explanation, right? So what would it mean using your new definition? What does it mean if X has a causal explanation?
What a causal explanation is? What are you talking about?
Yes, if X has a causal explanation, then there exists something that we call the causal explanation. So what's your definition? The one that involves source, the one that involves dependence or something.
I was defining what a causal explanation is.
Yeah, so please give it to me. I want to write it down.
Explanation is. So
I want to write it down. Go ahead, please. Or I can just replay it and I can just mute you.
Give it again. So I can just re-give the definition. So
please.
Just stop panicking. Okay, so the definition is quite simple. Yeah, so the definition of a causal explanation is just going to be the type of thing which some other given thing is asymmetrically dependent on, such that any change in X results in a change in the effect.
Sorry, dude, that's a huge blunder. That's a huge blunder.
It is a huge blunder in your end, by the way.
Wait, so wait a minute. If X has a causal explanation, then there is a thing, well, we can call it Y, that X depends on asymmetrically, such that a change in the thing, or we can say a change in Y, implies a change in X. This is what you mean, right?
How'd that be a blunder?
Oh, it's a blunder because if we go look at what I was asking you to define originally, I was asking you to define what it means for something to be independent. And you said a thing is independent when it's not dependent, meaning that it doesn't have a causal explanation. And you said that you were trying to define what a causal explanation is to explain what it means to be dependent on something. But now you've just defined a causal explanation as a dependency. That's the blunder.
Yeah, so you're just completely confused. From the beginning of the conversation, I pointed out that what it means for something.
Just admit that you blundered, that you've provided now a circular definition. Like, it's super easy.
A cause explanation. What it means for something to be dependent on something else is part of a cause explanation. So me defining causal explanation in virtue would be the case that
he's cutting out again. He must be like flicking his lag switch right now so that he can like run away.
It is compatible with my previous point.
It's not a definition. It's not a definition of dependency then.
Any blunder within my point. Go ahead.
The blunder is that I was asking you to give me or to explain to me what it means for something to be dependent, and now you've just given me a definition that is dependency.
Can you hear me?
That's the blunder. The blunder is that you are now not doing what I asked you to do.
I asked you to give me
I can hear you, yes. I asked you to give me an explanation for what dependency means. I can hear you, yeah.
No.
And now you've just told me that dependency is asymmetric dependency.
Oh gosh, cool.
That's the blunder.
Perfect.
That you've spent the last 10 minutes doing nothing.
So what I'm pointing out to you're not understanding. Are you done talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what
go ahead and explain how you're not explain how you're explaining something.
I'm going to explain how you're not explaining anything actually. So
I'm not even trying to explain something. I've been trying to understand what you mean. But you apparently you're incapable of explaining your words.
Can you stop interrupting? Can you stop interrupting?
Yeah, I can, as long as you stop interrupting and you actually explain.
So here's the point I'm making. I was interrupting your interruptions. So hear me out. So my point is simply that when I said that something is independent, you asked me what does it mean for something to be independent. It's only what that means is for it to have a causal explanation. And by causal explanation, I was indexing that to the asymmetric dependency of kind of explanations such that it is functional. And I also told you what it means for something to be dependent is for it to be the type of thing which is caused insofar as it's asymmetrically dependent on something else. So you pointed out that I'm appealing to an asymmetric dependency of kind of explanation to explain what it means for something to be independent and dependent respectively is compatible with what I said previously. You just missed track and you're confused there.
Okay, so wait a minute. So are you saying that being dependent is just equivalent?
You're studying because you know you've blundered. going on. Go for it.
You think that the reason why I'm stumbling over my words is because I'm blundering and not because this is a thing I usually do?
We get in broad chats.
Sorry?
Let's get to the substance, though.
Yeah,
Right, so
let's
what do you
get
want
to
to
the
talk
substance. What does it mean for something to be independent or for something to be dependent? Please, what's the substance? Because it sounds
Yeah,
like
so
the
what do you mean
like I grilled you on what asymmetric
yikes.
functional explanation means, and you couldn't give that to me. So instead, you backtracked and you said, "Ah, well, actually, a causal explanation is just an asymmetrical dependency." And so what you're now saying is, a thing X is dependent if it has a causal explanation. Fine, I'm willing to grant that as long as we talk about what a causal explanation is. We say a thing X has a causal explanation if it's asymmetrically dependent. So now, not only have you actually basically provided a circular explanation, in fact, you've now said a thing X is dependent if it has an asymmetric dependence.
That's not a circular definition.
You're right. You've actually just added it. You've just implied that asymmetric is trivial.
No, it is not. Did you just
yeah.
say that same... Stop interrupting. Did you just say a while ago that it is a circular definition to cache out dependency insofar as an asymmetric relation? You
No,
understand
to
the
cache it out as
symmetric
asymmetric
relation,
dependence,
though?
yeah.
That's not a circular definition. A circular
If you cache it out as
definition would be
asymmetric dependence, yes, it is. It is absolutely circular because you're trying to explain what dependence is in the first place.
No, it doesn't. And I'll explain why. So a circular definition, or
By the way, you did just yell at me for interrupting you, and while I was still talking, you were saying, no, it isn't, interrupting me. So, you know, maybe calling kettle black. I was literally answering your question, so I wasn't interrupting you.
Are you done? Gotcha. So, as I was saying, right, so it would not be a circular definition. A circular definition would be if I was to say that something is dependent if it is dependent. However, it is not the case, that's what I was saying, because I'm given a specific type of dependency, which is informative. Asymmetric dependency is not the same as a condition which is talking about symmetric relations, so it would not be circular.
It's circular because your definition is in. It's circular because the word that you're trying to define is in the definition. That's what makes it circular.
Do you think it is the case that by dependency, when I'm talking about dependency in this given context, all I'm saying there specifically that it is going to be dependent simpliciter, or no?
No, I never made that claim.
Okay, so when I'm talking about asymmetric relations in the context of dependency relation, you understand that the word dependency is cashing out an asymmetric relation in the context of onto commitments, right? So that would.
Do you mean something different by the word dependent here compared with the word dependence here? I mean, obviously they're different they're different grammatical parts of speech, but like, do you mean something like conceptually different between these two usages of the words dependence?
Conceptually different such that it is informative? Yes, it is informative.
Okay, so then you're just equivocating on the word dependence here.
That would not be the equivocation.
You're just using dependence in two different ways, where you're using one to define the other.
Type down the word. Hold on a second. You typed down the word dependence to basically account for my account of causation.
Yeah. So you said a thing X is dependent if it has a causal explanation. That's what you said 25 minutes ago. And then I asked you what it means for X to have. Then I asked you what it means for X to have a causal explanation. You originally gave me this definition, which I was like, okay, let's talk about it. I don't know what this means, so explain this to me. And then after 10 minutes of grilling you on that, then you changed it to, oh, actually, let's just not use that definition. Let's just say that a thing has a causal explanation if there's some asymmetric dependence relation.
You didn't.
That's all you've done.
Just to be clear on this, because you've already agreed that
you didn't even know what a function was, my guy.
You literally said that it is the case that what I described was not a function, and then agreed.
No, I said it's not a general property of functions. You know, look.
And then you try to change your
to the general. I may not know my no. I may have a stutter. I may stumble over my words, but at least I have a good working memory. Because like I definitely did say that is not a general property of functions, and you've just misremembered that for the last 20 minutes.
No, you misremembered what you said to cope with the fact that you've mistracked, and that's fine.
I've mistracked, yeah, sure. Definitely the person who's exposed your lack of knowledge of what a mathematical function even is.
Exposed my lack of knowledge? Is that what you believe in?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Yeah, you didn't know what a mathematical function is.
Are you 100% confident?
Well, I'm not 100% confident in a lot of things, but I'm very, very confident in this.
I guess you're very, very delusional in that. So to
you
move
think
on
so?
I know so.
Okay, so, yeah, so please explain what a dependence means here.
So dependency is just talking about a relation such that it is the case that something requires Y for it to exist, but not vice versa.
Such that something requires Y. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I was typing. Go ahead, one more time.
Something requires Y for it to exist, but that's not the case vice versa.
Okay, sure. So Y is the thing that it depends on, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
In
cool.
context sense.
Yeah, sure. It's not like some sort of epistemological
Not
sense.
circular, not
no,
informative.
no.
Okay.
This is informative. That's totally fine.
That's been the
Now,
concept the entire time, my guy.
Except then you shifted to this.
No one
I don't know why
shifted.
you did this.
I clarified to basically.
You clarify this doesn't clarify anything. This just adds to the confusion. What are you doing?
It doesn't. That's your confusion, not mine. So hear me out, right? So we can move on. Do you now
Okay,
understand
so
what I
a
mean by
dependency is a
causality?
relation such that something requires y. When you say require, you mean that like if y exists, then x exists, or rather, if x exists, then necessarily y exists. Is that the idea?
Just to be clear, you're taking x and y to be what specifically?
Oh yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me. So we say that x is dependent on y. If when y exists, then x exists. Is this the idea?
No, so you mistracked again, and you're talking.
Well, no. That's why I'm asking a question. I'm not trying to like misrepresent you. I'm just trying to understand what you mean here. So what do you mean by requires?
Okay, so you're not trying to misrepresent me. I understand, but you still are misrepresenting what I'm saying. So what I said originally was that x is dependent on y. If it is the case that y requires x for it to exist.
Wait, if it is the case that y requires x for x to exist or for y to exist?
For y to exist, of course.
No, I think you're getting it backwards. That would mean that y is dependent on x, not x is dependent on y.
Hold on a second. So just to be clear, x is dependent on y.
That's fine.
Is the case that x is required y for it to exist, for x to exist.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing I'm looking for is cashing out the word require here.
I was taking x to be the cause.
Okay,
right?
so I mean, reading is hard. I get that, but I'm just trying to cash out what requires here means. So when we say that x requires y for x to exist, does that just mean that like, and again, trying to understand what you're saying, we say that x is dependent on y.
Very hard. I believe you.
If x cannot exist unless y exists, is that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that is if is dependent on y, and if x exists, then y exists. Is that correct?
If x is dependent on y, and if x exists, then y exists. Necessarily.
So this is that is by the way, that is logically equivalent to if x is dependent on y, then y is a necessary condition for x.
Those are logically equivalent, but not semantically equivalent.
I thought we were trying to have like a rigorous conversation here. What?
Yes, of course we are. So your point is not logical equivalent.
Yeah. Okay. So
hear me out. Let me just finish. So I was going to say that of course it is the case that if x is dependent on y, then y is a necessary condition for x. That would of course be logically equivalent, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about logical equivalence solely because you're asking me what I mean by particular things. You're talking about the
so do you mean something different from this?
Yes. So you understand that there's a distinction between logical equivalence and semantical equivalence. Like for example, a context.
Not in this context. I don't understand the difference.
Tension, right? So the sense is different.
Okay, what's the different sense here?
Maybe you don't, but I do. So wait, hold on. But you understand that logical equivalence is not the same as semantical equivalence.
Yeah, of course. I'm just trying to understand what the different sense is between these two that you're implying. Because I understand these to be like just the same meaningfully.
So like for example, we're not. Okay, well I don't, and I guess you can.
Okay, which is why I'm asking what the way that. That's just why I'm trying to understand like what it is that you like. What is the difference in sense here? So that I can understand why you want to use this rather than this.
Well, I was.
By the way, this is also equivalent to if x is dependent on y, then x implies y, right?
I'm not seeing your screen. Sorry. Okay, there it is. If x is dependent on y, then x implies y. Of course, definitely, and vice versa, because it's a biconditional sentence. Yeah.
Oh no! Well,
it's logically equivalent.
Yeah. You mean if and only if? Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
okay.
So
If you had just given this definition, that would have been so much easier.
Just to be clear, yeah. So just to be clear, this of course I was clarifying that because I thought that your intention was to kind of like do like a game of gotcha. Because when I gave the definition and I said that what I mean is not to simply say that if x exists, then y exists necessarily. The reason as to why I was saying that is because my definition is not just about mere strict implication between the antecedent and the consequent, but rather it's something a bit more, conceptually speaking. Like, of course, in logic, like you'd agree that like like implications and contrapositives, they're not the same thing semantically, right? Even though they entail each other necessarily.
So all you've meant to say is that if X is independent, then there exists no Y such that X implies Y. That's all you mean.
No, actually, that doesn't follow.
Sure it
Can you hear me?
does. Yeah,
no, it doesn't, because when you're talking, because you're treating Y to be the effect here.
No, X is the. I
Yes,
mean,
you
like,
are.
if X is the effect, you're
I don't
confused
think you
again.
understand it. So
X
no,
is
you're
the
the
X is the effect here. In this definition, X is the effect, right?
you're saying that you're talking about it in the case that's a causal relationship between X and Y. I can't see your screen, by the way, just to be clear.
I don't know how you can't see it. It's on. Everybody else can see it on TikTok.
No, I'm just lagging. Like, I can only like hear you. I can't like actually see what's going on. So I'm just going along with what you're saying.
Yeah. So the one that you agreed to is that X is dependent on Y if and only if X implies Y. And so if we
X is the effect here.
yeah, X is the effect. So if X is
Like, usually when you're
independent,
talking about, like,
then there
metaphysics,
exists
I mean,
no
just to be
Y
clear,
such that X
Okay.
implies Y.
usually when we're talking about like cause and effects, and we're talking about variables which represents this, we're usually treating X to be the cause and Y to be the effect. That's
Are you
usually
just
the case.
confused that I'm using different variables?
I'm confused as to why you're confused about what I'm talking about here. And so
I'm
far
not
as
confused.
what
I'm
you're
just
mentioning.
I'm just making sure that this is what you mean by independent.
Okay, so how about this? For clarity purposes, right? So we're gonna just use X to represent the cause and Y to represent the effect. because
Okay.
you're just
Okay.
using-
We can
the
use the variables that make you comfortable.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, the variables are being used idiosyncratically on your end.
Idiosyncratic, bro. They're variables. They can mean anything.
And it can mean anything, but
This shows a lack of mathematical maturity, by the way. A math of logical maturity too.
Do you think it's the
But that's
case that
fine.
you can have idiosyncratic usage of variables?
It's not idiosyncratic to refer to the first variable as X. That's actually very standard.
But the first variable would be the cause here, generally speaking.
The first variable in the sentence was whatever we were talking about. In this case, it was the thing that
We're
was
not
either
talking about
dependent or
in the sentence,
independent.
We're talking about based off the chronology of the conversation, whereas your first assess what the cause is. Can you please track the conversation?
You think I'm having trouble tracking and you just asked me to change the variables because you didn't understand? I don't know, man. The irony there is palpable.
I asked you to
okay,
change the variables to avoid your confusion here.
I can assure you I wasn't the one confused using these variables. So the point is, I mean, and by the way, this is evidenced by the fact that you got confused about what I wrote because I was using variables you weren't familiar with. So like,
I'm
this
not
is
even
not
looking
the
at what
case
you're
of me
typing.
not tracking because of these variables. This is the case of you not tracking and me being nice and assuaging your lack of tracking by using your preferred variables. So don't come at me with this bad faith, non-charitable shit when I've been nothing but good faith and trying to understand what you've said this entire time, okay?
I can hear decibels raising in your vocal cords. Are you okay, sir?
Yeah, the decibels are raising because apparently you don't know how to listen unless there's a father figure telling you what's true.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
So let's get back to the substance. We're having a debate.
That was the only
right,
time that you
regardless-
haven't interrupted me, by the way.
We're having a logical conversation, so let's not be emotional, okay, Dr. Blitz? So
Sure, yeah, let's try not to be emotional. So do we agree that your definition of independence is if Y or is equivalent to, or actually we could just say, if it's a definition, it's a bijective relation, right? So we can say Y is independent if and only if there exists no X such that Y implies X.
If and only if is what you're saying?
Yeah, because it's a definition, right? This is what you're trying to say.
So you're saying Y is independent if and only if. What were you going to type?
If and only if, it's already
Oh,
on the
no.
screen. If and only if there
Okay,
exists
so-
no X such that Y implies X.
Are you asking for a definition or asking for a biconditional assertion? Which one is it?
So definitions can be understood as biconditionals. But
No,
so
because
so
biconditionals
so
are
I'm
propositional. What are you
that's why
talking about?
that's why definitions can be propositional, by the way.
You said a lot. You said previously they're not propositional. You think
I
definitions
said
can be
I said like we can just use that notion of a definition if you want, but this is not the kind of thing that I.
Propositional. Phil. Where do
They
you
they
get
can
that
be they can be biconditional.
Under
The
what
point
kind of
is
definition could they be propositional?
the way that
Stipulative
the way that we use them in mathematics. So look, I don't know what
Are we having a
experience you
mathematical
have in
conversation or a conversation
Yes,
about
actually, if we're
logical
doing analytic philosophy is mathematics.
You think it is necessarily mathematics?
I didn't say it's necessarily mathematics, dumbass.
So why would it be mathematics in this case? Don't resort to the
Because-
insults.
Because we're obviously talking about functional relationships here, which are mathematical.
We're
Yeah,
talking about logic right now.
yeah, which is a branch of mathematics, by the
Do
way.
you think logic is the same as mathematics insofar as fields are concerned?
It's a branch of mathematics. Yeah,
They're not the same thing, buddy.
I mean
They're
it
not the
is.
same. Logic
If you're
is
doing
used
anything
to
if you're doing
derive
anything formal, it
mathematical
absolutely is. Yeah.
So just because mathematics necessarily utilize logic to derive a lot of the functions of mathematics doesn't mean they're the same thing. You understand this, right?
Do you understand that mathematics or that logic is a branch of mathematics?
You understand that I'm not disagreeing that it is a branch, I'm disagreeing that it being the same thing.
Do you understand that you're
Didn't
not
that seem
understanding what I say when I say you understand that?
You stuttered over that rhetorical response. Don't do this again, please and thank you. Let's get back to
Okay,
the
yeah, sure. Yeah, so do you agree that this is and look, if you don't like the if and only if, you can just say y is independent means there exists no x such that y implies x. Is that fine?
You can talk about that. Yeah, definitely go for it.
Okay, so this is what you mean by independent?
Means that y requires x for it to exist. Yep.
That there exists no such x such that y implies x. We
That's
agree
not the
on
meaning
this.
of it.
Okay,
Nope.
so then what do you
We're
mean?
talking about. Yeah, I don't think you understand again. So I'm going to give an example.
Because to be clear, this is logically equivalent to the definition that you gave me. So
Yeah. So the what you're talking about there are the implications that you believe follows from particular aspects of the definition. But implications, and we've already went over this. You
no,
agree that
it's not just implication.
Hold on a second.
It's logically equivalent, right?
Brother, you agree that logical equivalence is not the same as semantical equivalence. You're asking for a semantical equivalence insofar as giving me a semantical account. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, so then what do you mean? So what do you mean?
Okay.
If you don't mean this, what do you mean?
I'm telling you for the past 15 minutes. What are you talking about?
What is the distinction between, say, these two statements?
I'll explain the distinction in just a moment, but first we need to calm down. Okay?
I can assure you, I am exceptionally calm.
What I mean when I say, oh really? I think someone is saying that the chat you were angry, since you only appeal to the chat, right? So hear me out. Okay? So when I say that y is dependent on x, right? What I mean there is that y
Let's change
not
variables.
existed.
Y is x.
Yeah.
Y, yeah. We'll use the variables that you want. I understand that variable substitution is hard. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that would just indicate that y could have not existed without x existing in the relevant sense.
So was this a mischaracterization of your understanding of dependence?
You think that specifically was?
Well, no, I'm asking. Was the thing that I've highlighted, is that a mischaracterization of what you mean?
It's not a mischaracterization, but I wouldn't say it was a complete account given the fact that you quite literally was trying to establish that wouldn't be the case that there's some sort of implication which follows from that, which does not exhaust my definition of what it is. You know?
Okay, so there's more to the definition here. So what you mean is this plus more? Is that correct?
I thought it was clarified. Was it not?
I'm just clarifying.
No, I'm saying I thought it was clarified. If you don't think it was made clear, then I can just make it clear again for you.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. So before you make it clear, I just it's possible that I misinterpreted. So is it the case that your understanding, what you mean by dependent, is equivalent to this and something else?
Yeah, so the dependence there was the something else was already clarified before, and I talked about.
Yeah. So please, can you tell me what the something else is? That'd be really helpful.
Yeah. So when I was talking about it being dependent in the ontic sense, which you granted, by the way, is just to say that we're talking about ontic in the sense of fundamentality. So what is more fundamental?
I don't know what any of that means. Can you clarify?
You don't know what fundamental means?
I don't know what ontic in the sense of fundamentality means. I don't know what that means. No.
Yeah, so we're talking about, like, for example, like if you read like anything on Van Weigen, for example, he talks about like fundamentality. There are certain things that are metaphysically fundamental, certain things that are believed to not be metaphysically fundamental.
Can you enunciate a little bit better? It's maybe the connection's not great, but I have a hard time hearing what you're saying.
Okay, gotcha. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Just try not to slur your words.
I wasn't slurring my words. You were though.
I mean, you definitely were.
So
and I think that we could probably all hear that, but that's fine.
We can all hear you stuttering all the time.
I do stutter. That's a thing that I do. What about it?
But your low-tier Jedi mind trick is not really working. So let's stop doing this, okay?
I literally didn't understand what you said, which is why I'm asking you to repeat it and enunciate better.
Lost in the conversation. Do you need a caretaker to help with the conversation?
Do I need a what?
A caretaker.
Oh, a caretaker. No, I'm good. You just have to enunciate a little bit better.
Or maybe you have to listen a bit better. So,
well, it's not just me, so...
It is just you, actually.
Apparently not.
So, apparently, yes.
There's like 1,000 people here who are currently saying, yeah, I couldn't understand him either.
1,000 people saying this? Or just 2 persons in the chat saying this?
Well, go look at the chat, man.
You think 1,000 people are typing into the chat saying that they cannot see what I'm saying?
I did say like 1,000 people, but this is like a really low tier
Like
low tier
like
attack about my
1,000
hyper. You know what hyperbole is, right? It's kind of a low tier attack to say,
I know
oh, you
it's
mean literally
hyperbole.
1,000 people were typing this? Like, obviously not, dumbass. Like,
I
what are
know
you
it's
doing?
a hyperbole, not a hyper. I don't know what that is. I
Oh,
don't know
okay,
what
so you're
hyper-
attacking me because I have a stutter. Cool. That definitely makes you look good.
Oh, really? You think you talk about slurring makes you look good in the conversation?
Look, I don't know why you were slurring. Maybe it was a connection issue. Maybe it was because you're tired. Maybe it's just because of how you talk. That's why I'm asking you to slow down and enunciate so that I can understand you better. Like, if you want me to understand what you're saying, you gotta not mumble.
Okay, got you. So now that you're done venting, I'm going to explain what I meant by ontic dependence. Is that cool?
By ontic fundamentality would be good, because that is what you used.
Well, we're talking about ontic dependence, and then we're going into fundamentality, so technically...
Yeah. So I just want to know what this something else is, that's all.
Okay, cool. So the something else is talking in virtue of metaphysical fundamentality, so relations
Okay, so this
between...
is in virtue of metaphysical fundamentality?
Fundamentality, yes, of course.
Okay,
yes.
so y is dependent on x if y cannot exist unless x exists, and in virtue of metaphysical fundamentality. Surely that's not like the complete thought, right?
That is a complete account of the actual explanation that I was talking about, you know, so I don't know what you're saying.
So generally, and again, not saying that you're saying something incoherent, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. If I say that x, let's say that x is the case if A and B, then just semantically, there should be meaning behind the phrase x is the case if A, and it should also be meaningful to say x is the case if B. So here I'm reading this as y is dependent on x if in virtue of metaphysical fundamentality. And I don't know what that's trying to convey. It doesn't sound like it's a complete sentence.
Why are you missing out the first conjunct?
Well, no. The point is that like viewing this as one of the elements of a conjunct doesn't sound like it is the kind of thing that could play the role of a conjunct. It's not the correct part of speech. It's not a complete thought.
Formulated it.
But yeah. So that's why I'm asking. Can you like clarify, because this is what
you
you said.
can just change the in virtue of, and change that for has metaphysical.
Okay. No. Great. So y is dependent on x if what has metaphysical fundamentality,
and does not, I should say, because you're talking about the y here, right?
And y does not have fundamental.
Yeah.
Does not have metaphysical. So okay. So this is what you mean. Y is dependent on x if y cannot exist unless x, and y does not have metaphysical fundamentality. So I think I know what you mean by metaphysical fundamentality, but do you just mean that like it is not? Well, actually, maybe I don't know, because I want to say something like it cannot be broken up into smaller pieces. It doesn't it's not
very close
like,
account.
like is that the kind of thing that you mean? Okay.
Yeah, let me just clarify on that, and that's very close. We're talking about it in the context of like mereological relations and so forth, like antecedents.
Yes, sure. Course, yeah. Okay, so but that's not the general notion of metaphysical fundamentality that you mean here, right?
I'm agnostic on if it is the general account philosophically. That's just what I mean by this, and that's all that matters in the context.
So you do mean it in like a mereological sense?
Absolutely, yes.
So would it be reasonable for me to replace this with and y cannot be I guess we would want can be broken down into smaller pieces, something like that?
Parts. I prefer the word parts.
Okay, parts is fine. Yeah. Okay, so y is dependent on x if y cannot exist unless x exists, and y can be broken down into smaller parts. So does this capture the notion of dependency that you're referring to?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if I were to, rearrange this, then logically, presumably, I would still capture what you mean semantically, right?
If you do it correctly, definitely.
Okay, yeah. So we would say that y is dependent on x means, and I'm going to use means because I know you don't like the bijection, or you don't like the bijective relation, so that's fine. Yeah. So it means something like if y it means that what are we saying? We're saying that x depends on y. Wait, y is the dependent thing. So we mean something like if y exists, then x exists, right? That's just like a rephrasing here. And so this just means that y implies x, right? And y can be broken down into smaller pieces, smaller parts. So you'd be okay with this meaning of dependent?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. And so what would we say that we would say that y is independent means that there exists no x such that y implies x. Or
Y is independent means, and you forgot, and the other part is going to be the negation of the other conjunct.
If we're it should be an or relation, right? If you negate a conjunction, you get a disjunction.
Okay, so this
or y cannot be broken down into smaller pieces, smaller parts rather, right?
It should be the second disjunct.
Yeah, y cannot be broken down into smaller parts, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what you mean by independent.
Yep.
Either there's nothing that whenever y exists, x always exists, or y is just merely fundamental in the sense that like you can't break it down into smaller pieces.
Yeah, it could be the second disjunct.
Oh, so you just mean the second one, you don't mean the first one.
Yeah, when you're talking about independent, that's what it means. That's
okay, well, if so what you want it to be is you want y is independent means that y cannot be broken down into smaller parts. That's all you mean by independent?
Absolutely.
So then this can't be what you mean by dependent.
I don't think you understand what's going on here. So
I mean,
y, hold on.
Like if we just negate this,
the second
then
one
all I've done is negate this.
No. The second claim about what independent means, right? That claim specifically is a disjunctive claim. Do you understand this?
This is a disjunction. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
But now you're saying that you're actually just taking one piece.
Yeah, but saying that y means the second disjunct is not incompatible with the previous assertions.
If by means you mean that it's like that it's just a substitution, then yeah, of course it is.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm just talking about the sense of independence here.
Is independence just a negation of dependence?
We're not even talking about term substitution. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm talking about
we're talking about a definition, and a definition is just a substitution.
You're asking me what I mean by the given thing. You think definitions and mean is the exact same thing, philosophically?
Okay, so you're not taking this to be a definition.
You're asking me what it means. So I presume you're talking about the sense of the word.
Yeah, when I ask you what a word means, I'm asking for the definition.
Okay, so you're asking for the definition of the word independent now, not just what it means.
That I take those two things to be the same thing.
Okay, cool. So let's go over this one more time. Okay, so what part do you want me to clarify right now?
I want you to clarify why it is the case that y being dependent on x means a conjunct, but y being independent, i.e. there is no such x that y is dependent on it, is not a disjunct.
So you take it to be the case, right? So we're not talking about it not being disjunction. We're saying that
No, that is what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm not denying hold on. I'm not denying the second
okay,
to be a disjunction. Hold on a second. All I'm saying here is that when I'm using the word independent, the sense of the word independent relevant to this conversation would just be the second disjunct here.
So does your sense of independent presuppose some sort of reductionism?
Reductionism in what sense? Metaphysically, semantically?
Yeah. That like fundamental things must be irreducible.
I said this from the beginning, yes.
Like, I don't think you used the word irreducible. So if I'm a priority monist, then like it seems like that, and I take holism to be a reasonable thing. Then it seems like that.
What do you take priority monism to be?
I take priority monism to be that there is one fundamental object, but that fundamental object can be subsequently broken up into parts or pieces that are dependent on the whole.
Then that'll be incompatible with my account of fundamentality in the context of independence.
Right. So like how am I? So
remember, hold on, real quickly.
Yeah,
remember, you're asking me what I meant by independence, right?
Right.
And I took that to just be hold on, and I took that to be metaphysical fundamentality, and we already clarified that by fundamentality, I'm not talking about something which can be broken down. It's going to be the opposite. So you telling me that it's going to be a priority monist and take the position that a fundamental object could be broken down would just be you equivocating on what it means for something to be fundamental, given how clarified it is.
Well, no. So what the reason why I'm offering this, the reason why I'm bringing this up now, is because it sounds like in order to accept your original premise and the things that are going to follow from it. Now we haven't seen the things that are going to follow from it, but in order to grant this premise, it seems like I would have to grant your notion of reductionism, which I don't grant. And so like P1 isn't going to get off the ground.
Hold on a second. When you say notion of reductionism, are you just saying you have a different definition or meaning of the word reductionism?
It means I have a different note. I have a different understanding of what is fundamental.
But you're asking for my understanding.
Right.
We can have a debate. We can have a debate.
This is fine.
But this is just a semantic dispute. Before you interrupt, don't interrupt.
No, it's not a
we're having
semantic
a semantic dispute right now about what you take it to, just to be clear, it would be because your metaphysical commitment, if you were to be priority monist, and I repeat, if you were to be a priority monist,
which I am, by the way,
incompatible with, and so let's just say you're a priority monist. So that metaphysical position would be incompatible with what I mean by something to be fundamental.
Right.
And you're asking me about what I mean by fundamentality here. So
No. So look, I agree. I agree that the point is that my point is that it sounds like in order to make the argument that you're going to make, it's going to rely on a particular understanding of what it means for a thing to be fundamental. But if your argument relies on a particular understanding of fundamental that is, say, compatible with reductionism, perhaps, whereas I don't grant that a thing is fundamental just because it is irreducible, that it just seems like P1 wouldn't get off the floor.
Okay, no, it wouldn't. I'll give a perfect example to destroy that argument, right? Just hear me out. So if I was to say, for example, if I say premise 1, if John is a bachelor, then he's unmarried. Premise 2, well, I could just use modus ponens instead. So if I say, if it is the case that John is a married man, then he's a bachelor. And premise 2 states John is unmarried man, I should say. If I say premise 1, John is an unmarried man. If he used to be an unmarried man, then he's a bachelor. And premise 2 states that John is an unmarried man, and the conclusion is John is a bachelor, right? That's going to be something which is trivial, right? It's going to clearly be a logically valid and sound argument. Now, one could say that it just depends on what you mean by a bachelor.
Well, hold on.
No,
you're not understanding what the objection is. You're not understanding the objection. Okay, hold on, I'll write it down.
Hear me out.
You don't because you.
Even if it's the case, could you hear me out, please? You can give a response when I'm done talking. So even if it is the case that someone has a different understanding of what a bachelor actually is, such that that is no longer tautological, it would still be the case that it remains true in virtue of the understanding itself. It's not debunking the argument in any way whatsoever.
No, my critique is equivalent to saying John isn't an unmarried man.
So all you're doing here is just to say that you're denying that it is the case that John is an unmarried man. That's all you're doing.
In this case, the parallel would be something like, yeah, I actually don't think John is a man.
Hold on a second.
That would be the parallel.
But you understand that if I'm defining, hold on, that's just not the case, because my claim is semantical. You're rejecting the semantical claim. So your contention,
I mean, it's semantic in the sense that we understand words to mean different things.
Hold on a second. Premise 1 is just a tautology. You agree with this, right? In this case.
Yeah, sure.
The John argument.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So your contention here is just equivalent to you rejecting P1. Because all I'm saying here is...
No, it's equivalent to me rejecting P2.
Hold on a second. No, it isn't. I will explain why. So all I'm saying here is, if something is independent, it is metaphysically fundamental. That's all I'm saying there. And I'm taking that to be tautological.
No, I understand that, but the point is that
you're going to use P1.
Nope. Yes, you should go and rewatch it and not interrupt me. My point is that, like, look, I can just understand what you mean by P1, but any argument that's going to rely on P1 will rely on a particular understanding of what it means for a thing to be independent, or in this case, fundamental, right? So if it does indeed, unless you just have a superfluous piece to your premise, which maybe you do, maybe it's just not a well-formed argument, but the point is if you're going to rely on a particular meaning of independence, and you and I, and that meaning relies on an understanding of what indeed is fundamental, and you and I disagree on what is fundamental, then that means that would be like me disagreeing with you on what a man is, right?
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to go back again.
I'm precogging you. I'm precogging your P2. That your P2 will somehow invoke independence. Yeah.
You're doing a terrible job precogging and tracking and understanding.
Okay, are you saying that your P2 will not invoke independence at all? It won't be part of the...
No, here's the point.
It won't be part of the... Right now. Won't be part of the premise?
That's what I'm saying. Just hear me out. It's option to precog what I'm about to say and then fail horrendously at doing such. What I'm saying here is, all I'm taking, fundamentality to mean here, is just something which cannot be broken down. These are substitutes for each other. They're the same exact thing semantically. They're taught to all.
Yeah, but there's a metaphysical claim here. There's a metaphysical claim here.
Wait, hold on a second. Right, I'm saying that's my definition of what it means. You've asked me originally in the conversation. Hold on a second.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Quickly. You've asked me, what do I mean by fundamentality?
If that's what you mean, sure.
Wait, could I just finish the point first and foremost? So you asked me what I mean by it, and I've told you what I mean by this. And so what my meaning of fundamentality is would be something which is incompatible with certain metaphysical commitments given your metaphysical paradigm, since you're a priority monist. However, all that it's just saying is that you reject, because, for example, if you're a priority monist, you cannot adopt my definition of fundamentality, the group is right?
Yep.
So that means it boils back down to a semantic dispute, and you deny there was just a semantic dispute. That's the whole point.
Well, no. I mean, so of course we're disagreeing on the meaning of words. I don't think I ever said that we're not disagreeing on the meaning of words.
You said we're not disagreeing.
But the meaning of those words, the meaning of those words implies a metaphysical position that we're disagreeing on, right? There's like an actual disagreement of the metaphysics here.
And how is this relevant to you disagreeing on the meaning of the word?
Because you and I look, so the word fundamental has a lot of metaphysical baggage that's attached to it, right? And so if you and I have different metaphysics, then we're also going to disagree on what the word fundamental means, right?
Dude, no, that's not the case. You can have the same semantics of a particular word and have a disagreement metaphysically. So you saying that us disagreeing on the metaphysics means, or would indicate us having a disagreement on the meaning.
If the metaphysics is about the word, if the metaphysics is about what's fundamental, then yes, we're going to disagree about what fundamental means.
Wait, hold on a second. So in the case of theism versus atheism, where both a theist and atheist agrees the definition of God is a triumphant being, you think it is the case that they have to disagree on the definition for them to have a metaphysical theological dispute? Obviously not, right? They can agree on the definition, and there's a metaphysical dispute independently.
Oh my god, that's a blunder.
Right?
That's a huge blunder. Hold on, we gotta do the thing. It doesn't follow that because people don't disagree on the definition of a word, therefore they do disagree on the metaphysics. That doesn't follow from two people disagreeing on the it's exactly what you said. That's distinct from two people disagreeing on the metaphysics, implying that they can disagree on the meaning.
Dr. Blitz, you're not listening.
You just assumed the consequence. Like,
no, I did not. You're not understanding. Hear me out. Dr. Blitz, what I said was that it is the case that a theist and an atheist can have the same definition of a word and disagree metaphysically. Not that it follows from them agreeing on the same definition that they disagree metaphysically. That was never my claim. What are you talking about?
Then that's totally compatible with what I said. That you can have two people who disagree metaphysically and therefore also disagree semantically. That's totally possible.
Your words, not mine.
It's compatible.
Your words, not mine.
Why are you interrupting me?
Because it is the case that we're having a metaphysical disagreement. Obviously, we have a semantic disagreement. That's not the case.
Because it is the case that we are having a metaphysical disagreement about what is fundamental, obviously we will have a disagreement about the meaning of the word fundamental. That's trivial.
No, that's incorrect. For example, if I say, for example...
Oops, I slipped. He's been here for so long. You had an hour and a half, you had an hour and 20 minutes, and you couldn't explain yourself well enough to actually make the second premise. So, like, I don't know if it's worth the time. But it will be going on YouTube for you to review later, and for you to see for you to try to figure out how you can better explain yourself. Let's read some super chats, and we'll bring on our next guest, literally our second guest, right? From Scruffy Mans with the $20. If 1 kilogram is the weight of 1 kilogram was actually okay, or 1 kilogram is the weight of 1 kilogram was actually okay until somebody pointed out that in order to be more scientific, they needed a formula to describe it more scientifically. 2019, the new quantum definition officially started. Yeah, so it wasn't 1 kilogram is the weight of 1 kilogram. It was 1 kilogram is the weight of this object, right? That's not an in some sense, that is an explanation. Oh, somebody just sent a shit ton of memberships. Who sent all those memberships? Hold on, I gotta scroll. Did somebody just send like 20 or 50 memberships? Real Marcus Holloway, thank you for the 20 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. That's huge. Thank you so much. And everybody else, let's get a big round of applause for Real Marcus Holloway. Back to Scruffy Mans. The point is it wasn't saying 1 kilogram is the weight of 1 kilogram. It's not what they were doing. They were saying that 1 kilogram is the weight of this particular object, right? From Victor Wyrick with the 5 Brazilian reals, I don't think he was expecting you to scrutinize him over his asymmetric functional explanation word salad. Poor deathless light wannabe. Yeah, like why was he doing that? Like he could have just given the implicative definition from the get-go and we would have saved 30 minutes. From Real Marcus Holloway again with the $5. Dude has no idea what his own argument is. He's banking on people not following him, so he talks faster to confuse people. He's a moron. Yeah, this is a standard trick amongst young Philbros. It's like a Discord meme. Like, you talk fast and you try to jargon dump and you mumble a little bit so that it's hard to understand you, so that people look embarrassed when they ask you to slow down and clarify. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability of being embarrassed in my body for whatever reason. So I will just ask somebody to slow down. From Dr. Fudge with the $10, guest is giving me a strong and healthy desire to have a hearty lunch of fiberglass insulation. Yum yum. Don't do that. It's good for you. Or it's not good for you. From Mr. Kiki with the $5, stop interrupting his interruptions, interrupting your interruptions, interrupting his complete idiocy. Yeah, it was rough. From ATX HTX with the $5, these Philbros exploit your patience in good faith by playing word definition games to waste your airtime. They use Logomaki and waste a full hour. Yeah, he did waste a full hour, but it's going to go on YouTube, and it was an hour and 20 minutes, and people love to see Philbros get annihilated on the details, and that's what happened here. From Zach Zeta with the $5, skill gap is crazy, Blitz logic mog, Apollo recovery unfathomable. True. Yeah, also insulting a stutter is ableism. Now, I don't have like a diagnosed stutter, but I definitely do stutter, and if you've been watching me for a while, you'll notice that I stutter quite frequently, whether or not I'm having a conversation with somebody who's baking me, or whether I'm just having a normal conversation, right? From Zach again with the $5, change the variables as if it changes the argument. It keeps getting. I know that was. I should actually put that as the beginning. At the beginning. Oh, maybe I'll put that as the intro clip, because that was rough. Like, I can't believe that he wasn't tracking because the variables were different, and he was like accusing me of not tracking at all. I don't know. From Garain with the $5, Philbro is deliberately insufferable with the goal of provoking anger in order to call you out on it. Just more dishonest Philbro BS. Yeah, he does that a lot, but I don't let it get to me. From Atheist in a Foxhole with the $2, this incel is aware they have an accent, right? I mean, maybe they do. If he spoke more slowly, if he didn't mumble as much, then I would have no problem understanding him. His accent was very, very slight. But you know, it didn't help that he was also like intentionally fast talking to try to slip things by me. From Poker Shark with the $2, oh brother, this guy stinks. Yeah, see, we have that. I should have used it though.
Oh brother, this guy stinks.
From Mike Angel with the $2, please have some metaphysical freedom bucks. I appreciate that. And from World War Wit with the $20, thank you so much, bud. They assume something is non-reducible, but that assumes the rules at hand are complete. Example, know something from nothing, but that assumes that nothing is subject to the law or any law in the first place. It is nothing. I don't think that that's quite what it is. They were just doing some sort of reductionism. The reductionism is the bit that is just that the fundamental thing is the thing that you get after breaking something down until the point where you can't break something down anymore, right? That's all that he was getting at, and that's a fine view that you can hold. That's a view that I used to hold, but I've been more and more convinced of priority monism, which just takes the view that the fundamental thing is the largest possible system, and then we can just talk about the parts being dependent on the whole. That's all. From Censored with the 65 Swedish kroners, I have the capability of being embarrassed, but asking someone to slow down shouldn't make anyone feel bad. No, it's the asking someone to slow down, saying things like, I didn't understand that, can you explain better? Saying things like, or you know, recognizing that I stutter on the regular. These kinds of things, like, you know, they're not going to embarrass me if you call them out, although it is ableist, you know. From Hawaii Boy with the $5, how do I convince someone we are not in a firmament and outer space is not fake? Genesis being that their evidence or proof. Look, if they're relying on the Bible for their proof, then you're going to have a very hard time convincing them otherwise, if only because people often are so closely tied to their religious traditions, their beliefs are so closely held, that they will reject any evidence if it makes their religion false. And unfortunately, some people's religion leads them to believe that the earth is flat. From Matt Lloyd with the two pounds, that guy loved the sound of his own voice too much, which is ironic because if he loved the sound of his own voice, he would enunciate more, talk more slowly, more grandly, use his full range of what do singers talk about, like the full range of voice or something like that. But he was just kind of like monotone mumbling the whole time. From Dr. Fudge with the $5, lunch of fiberglass insulation. Do that. It's good for you. No, it's not good for you. Don't do that, please. Blitz has a stutter. I do stutter occasionally. It's not like a diagnosable like stutter, but I do stutter. Like, this is pretty something that I've known about myself for a while. And from our last super chat for today, from James Pesh with the $10, the Phil Bro movement is just a pursuit of theocratic might makes right thinking. If they can confuse by conflation and rhetoric, it proves to them they are superior, intellectual stolen valor. That's true. They could just go get a doctorate. That'd be good. That would prove that they have the intellectual capacity to compete. Don't eat fiberglass, y'all. Somebody said, oh, I should have. Well, it's too late now. One more super chat. Did somebody mention eating fiberglass? I meant, no, stop it. Don't eat the fiberglass. It's bad for you. All right, let's bring up our next guest. I just want to make sure that we don't have any guests. Okay, we do have some guests from Discord. So we will bring up a guest from Discord because, you know, we should alternate, give them a fair chance. Let us bring up Mage Colin with from the Discord. Thank you so much for being here, Mage Colin. How's it going?
It is going good. How about yourself?
I'm doing a-okay, Mage Colin. Mage Colin, do you believe in God?
Yes, I do believe in God.
All right, so look, I don't. What God is it that you believe in, and why should I believe in it?
I just believe in the idea of a higher power. I believe that the current religious texts and everything, like with Christianity, I think if I recall correctly, it's like 1,200 or 1,300 years old is the oldest complete New Testament we have.
I don't know. That sounds right.
And I think that, yeah, it's been just corrupted by man. And so we don't really know what is truly, and plus we don't speak Hebrew. So when we go,
I mean, lots of people do. There are people who do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. But then you also have the in the 1800s when they came back and prior to 18 something, 1850s, no one spoke Hebrew. Really?
No, they did. It just wasn't a social language. It was a liturgical or an academic language. We know how to read ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew is not some unknown language.
I'm not denying that. I'm more so saying that my background is I work in finance, but I was a communication. I have a bachelor's in communication, which is a Mickey Mouse degree. But I did learn a little bit about. But we were missing we understand the denotative meaning, but all the connotations that the people writing it 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago were trying to put into the meaning of the word of God they were writing. We don't today understand those connotations. Does that make sense?
Well, if you mean we can't mind read the people who are writing, then sure, but that's true about any writing, right?
No, I understand, but we're talking about the word of God. These are people. Who
these would have been the word of the people that were writing, right?
Yes, but I'm even if they were there was some firsthand accounts of prophets, and I believe that they.
How do you know that they were denoting, that they were connoting actual prophecy?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going down the wrong path here.
Sure, that's fine. We can. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah. No, because it's opening a can of worms. I could go on and on and on about my opinions of Bible studies, and
that's
I believe
fine.
it's.
So why do you believe in a higher power? How about that?
Gotcha. So have you ever had any what you're a very, very smart physicist and polymath person. Do you?
I wouldn't go that far.
How many dimensions do you believe that there are?
4.
4. Okay.
Yep.
So you believe that we are where there's living things in the 4th dimension, and we are a cross section.
We are 3 dimensional. We are the living things in the 4th dimension.
Well,
in 4 space-time dimensions.
Isn't there an infinite? You could take a cube and you could slice an infinite amount of squares out of it. Yes.
So I'm saying that space-time is 4-dimensional, meaning that there's 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. That's all I'm saying.
Understood. Have you ever had any psychedelic experiences?
I have not.
Understood. Well, can I set a premise with that? Have you ever done any research into group psychedelic experiences where do you believe in yourself as a solipsist?
I'm not a solipsist, no.
Okay. And what tests can you run to prove that?
I don't think that solipsism is the kind of thing that can be deductively deduced. However, I think that we can be justified in rejecting solipsism because it's pretty clear that I have hands, for example. I have more reason
Well,
to
no,
think that I
like-
have hands than I do to think that I don't have hands. Let's put it that way.
What is your definition of solipsism? Because my definition is that
That I
you-
am
the
that,
only
that
thing
my
you can
mind is the
prove
only thing that
you're solid.
exists. That's my definition.
Yeah, like I think, therefore I like, but like your being, your soul, your conscious is like the only thing you can prove because it's the only
No, it's the
thing
only
that you
thing.
can.
The solipsistic position is that it's the
intuit.
only thing that exists, not the only thing that you can prove.
Oh, okay. What would the word be if it was like? I guess that's not important. But anyways, have you ever done any research into like group psychedelic experiences where they have meetings and like experiences with the same entities and like independently when they do interviews they're like bringing up the same topics and same entities and same experiences?
Nope, but I'm not so surprised by that, given that human brains are pretty similar to each other, and so when you flood them with chemicals of the same kind of chemicals, that you would get similar kinds of outputs.
Gotcha. Well, I believe that that is like your brain is essentially, for lack of better terms, a radio that is receiving your soul and like your consciousness, and then from that, when you take in like LSD or DMT or psilocin, that you're
Probably can't
messing
say
with the
those
radio
words, by the way,
dial.
since we're on TikTok, but
Oh,
so yeah, be a little bit
I
careful.
apologize.
You're
I'm
fine.
sorry. Nope. I apologize. I'm sorry. You take these psychoactive substances, and then with those, you're messing with the radio dial that is receiving your soul, in my opinion, and that from that you can connect to a higher power. I believe that there's more than 4 dimensions. I can
Okay, so
wrap
how
my
do you
brain around
distinguish?
up to like
How do you
7 or 8.
distinguish between your psychedelic experience actually pointing to something real in the world, as opposed to just being imagination, a hallucination, if you will?
Understood. Just like, oh, I apologize. More so, just the meaning that comes out of it. Like, I understand that it is basically my brain and it's taking in stimuli and it's going down different pathways in my brain, but it's creating new meaning. And I believe some of that new meaning is from a higher power.
How do you distinguish? Look, so do you think that like dreams are from a higher power?
They can be. There's like I believe it's the Aboriginals. They believe in like dreamland, and like that's their religion.
It's called
And
the dream time. But look, so all I'm saying is that like one can derive meaning from experiences that they have, even if those experiences aren't real. So it's not
Yes,
clear to me
yeah, no,
why it's not clear to me why it would be the case that just because you've derived meaning from these psychedelic experiences that you've had, that it therefore follows that the things that your psychedelic experiences were about are real.
Yes, no, I agree with that. However, I believe that, not telling you to do anything, I believe that you should have your own psychedelic experience at some point in the future, as long as you don't have any health
Maybe I will,
problems.
maybe I won't. But I don't think that will be particularly instructive about what's real about the world.
I think it's one of the most real things you can do, in my opinion.
That's exactly what I expect somebody to say who's been heavily influenced by psychedelic experience.
I actually I haven't taken any psychedelic substances in about 4 or 5 years, but
But
prior to
it
that,
clearly
there was, like,
heavily
3 or 4
influenced the
years.
way that you think.
Definitely, it's a very, very strong experience. And no, I completely agree with your premise that it definitely could be all in my head, and we don't have any way of testing if it truly is some other thing other than these substances messing with the inside of how my brain pathways work.
So if that's the case, what's the like, do you think that there's any reason to believe that there is such a higher power, except that, you know, it sounds
Well, that's
good?
where faith comes in, and I understand that that's a cop-out answer, but I truly believe that. We don't have any tests right now that we could do to prove without me just circularly keep on saying like, well, no, these are really profound things that are happening. But no, I believe in the future there will be some kind of test that they can run. That, I mean, there's people who are doing that, like psychological, like I don't know what words I'm allowed to say. I apologize, but there's a psychoactive substance that they're doing intravenously and through a drip in a small enough amount that they're still lucid, but they're able to go into these other, whatever word you want to use to call them, but essentially these other worlds, and they're bringing out things. And then there's multiple people who are doing these this research, and they're coming to the same conclusions of, not conclusions, but the same I don't know, evidence or the same findings like of what they're seeing through through this research.
So, look, all I can say is that if we know that something is happening in the brain, and we know that the brain and the brain and the mind, the brain and the consciousness, these are at least very, very closely related. They're perhaps the brain doesn't cause consciousness, but there's at least a very, very close link between the two. It doesn't, therefore, it seems exceptionally plausible that if you mess around with the brain, your experience of conscious will change significantly. And we could just use the radio analogy. Suppose for a moment that and let's use a TV, because it's the 21st century, right? So your brain is a TV, and and it picks up signals and it plays the signals that are coming in. But suppose that you just like go in and you mess around with the wiring of the TV so that it just displays like random noise. That doesn't mean anything about the signals that it's receiving. It could be receiving just the normal signal, but it's just playing something completely random.
That's a straw man. I'm talking about a functioning TV set that is receiving information, and then by taking psychoactive substances, you are how do I explain this?
You're changing the way the TV works, right?
Yes, but it's still working. It's like,
but it's not working. That's the point.
No, I disagree with that. That's an opinion.
No, but the point is that you're doing something to the TV, and perhaps we don't. I mean, neuroscientists do know what you're doing, but you're doing something to the TV. You're messing with its insides somehow, and you're saying, oh, well, we're messing with the insides so that it receives a different signal. But I'm saying it's just as plausible, and arguably more plausible, that in fact you're messing with the insides and it's just displaying nonsense.
I disagree. I would disagree with that. I would use your TV analogy, and I would say like where like HBO first came out, and you had like the cable box on top of your TV, and people would mess with it, and then from messing with that, they could get like static like channels of like risque stuff or like HBO and stuff like that. Yeah,
but you could also mess with it. You could also mess with it just to get nothing.
Meaningful data by messing with the TV set. That's meaningful data that you're receiving from it.
Right, but here's the distinction. So a TV is really a passive thing, but your brain is not just a passive thing, it also stores memory. So imagine that the TV also had memory, and it could synthesize memory as well. So it could like combine like memories to form different ideas. Yeah, like it had TiVo built in. So it's like an AI TiVo, for example. Like it can train off of the TiVo, and then it can produce like new TiVo-like things, but it's not necessarily exact replicas of the things that it had, right? So you mess with the inside of the TiVo thing, and now you're getting some weird sitcom, and you don't know if that sitcom is like just a different actual channel, or if the sitcom is what your AI TiVo system produced. And I don't think that you have a way of distinguishing between the two.
Correct. Yeah, it'd be like if you were receiving just gobbledygook AI created content. But I believe that this, and I completely understand that it's my brain taking all the stimuli from my whole entire life, and it's reordering it in a way that I can understand and intuit, and that it may or may not be profound, and not every psychoactive experience that someone has is going to be profound. But I believe that a certain percentage of them are profound enough, and I believe through faith that that is something that is trying to tell me something, teach me something, and I understand that that's an opinion, and that's not really evidence-based, and we don't have a test that we can run to prove that that's what it is yet, but I believe that is something that we should look into in the future.
I'm actually curious how this gets you to a god, even if we grant all of this.
Well, I believe that whatever, it's a higher power that is teaching.
Could it just be like aliens?
And that is also, it could also be aliens. It could be some interdimensional thing, or maybe it's in the third dimension, and it's just the only way it's able to reach us is if we mess with our TV set by introducing psychoactive substances, and then they can.
So how does this get you to like? So when you say higher power, you don't mean like a creator necessarily, right?
No, I like that is up to interpretation. I definitely think that. Like personally, I do believe it's creator. I'm not sure, and it could be an.
But how did you come to that conclusion?
That it's because like faith.
Oh, okay. So there's not like a reason why you think it's a creator.
Yeah, I'm sorry I keep giving you that cop-out answer of faith, but like I don't have an intuitive reason in my head that I can articulate to you at this moment. Unless you want to keep asking me questions, and I can work through them.
I mean, I don't know where else to go from here. Like,
Yeah.
So, Mage Colin, I'm going to let you go, but I do appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, no, I need to better flesh this out. I was talking with the people in that waiting room, and
Mhm.
no, I need to flesh this because there's a kernel of truth here. I just need to figure out a way to articulate to you. But thanks for having me on.
Of
Long
course.
time listener, first time caller.
Fair enough. Take care. Oh, he was nice enough. Let's read some super chats and we'll bring on our next guest from TikTok. From Hererinsky with the 2,500 CLP. CLP, I know this one. I don't know this one. What is CLP? Chilean pesos. Okay, I did know that one. Well, thank you, Hererinsky. That guy was just bad faith. On another note, I wonder how you can prove God isn't real. Both positive and negative statement are improvable. I don't think that positive and negative statements are in principle unprovable. I think that the point is that we can say that God isn't real using both inductive and deductive arguments. Now, the deductive arguments require that you agree to the premises, of course. But, you know, I think that the premises are at least plausible. And inductive arguments are generally fairly strong in my view, depending on which God we're talking about. But if you're just talking about like a disembodied mind that created the universe, I think we have very good reason to think that minds are the kinds of things that require time and require bodies. From Cherry Bomb Games, the $5. Munch, wait, why didn't you guys tell me fiberglass doesn't taste like cotton candy? I tried to tell you. From Garain with the $10, don't eat fiberglass, eat molten glass. When I watch a glass blowing video, it looks delicious. I know it's unhealthy, but I feel like it would taste like candy apple taffy. I can't be alone. No, you are not alone in this. This definitely looks yummy, but this is where you have to put the lizard brain, you have to put it on the back burner, and you have to use your big person brain. And from Cheese's Crust with great name by the way, with the $5, Dr. Blitz, I love the smell of roasted fiberglass in the morning. No, stop it. Y'all are gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me all sorts of in trouble. And we have $2 from this is on Cash App by the way. $2 from Robert with the W Blitz. It's very appreciated. Hold on, I'll get to that in a minute. We have $100 from Shay Andrew for your composure against idiocy is incredible. Thank you so much, Shay. That's very, very appreciated. Yeah, that's huge. Shay is a regular contributor and she always is very supportive, so I appreciate her a lot. Let's get 100 W's for Shay. We have $3 on Cash App from Walker Smith. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say your full name. My bad. I should have done better. Well, but thank you for the $3. Should have known he was bad faith an hour ago. That's fair. And what gave me pause is that a fellow sent me $800. Now, this is completely unrelated to the live stream. I mentioned in the Discord server, and you can check this out. I mentioned in the Discord server that a flat earther might send me $800 to watch a 4-hour moon landing conspiracy video. Because I'm like, he's like, you really should watch this video, this 4-hour video. It changed minds. And I'm like, look, you pay me $800 for it, I'll watch it. I'll spend 4 hours for $800. I was not expecting him to do that. So, possibly tomorrow, I will be watching this. Maybe we'll even do it live. Maybe we'll even do it live. Maybe I'll watch it live. And we will watch the moon landing denial video. So yeah, he did it. So I'll put it on my to-do list. I don't know what video is it. It's 4 hours long. It's gonna be insufferable. But for $800, man, well, of course we'll do it. Of course we will. And we have a few more super chats, and we'll bring on our next guest from Matthew Williams with the 5 Canuck bucks. I've done a lot of psychedelics. It's just fun. Nothing spiritual about it. Yeah, that's my understanding. From C-Bar with the $5, fiberglasses to Blitz as bathwaters to Dean. True. From Guts with the $5, as an atheist who has done psychedelics, they will never undo the bias with which you interpret the experience. Yeah, that's my thinking. Yeah, that's probably true. From Simeon Urchin with the $2, there's soda lime glass. I found out next mission. No, quit it. And from Tim Davidson with the $5, to stay regular, one must increase their dietary fiberglass intake. You guys are too funny. All right, let's bring on our next guest. We will bring on Follower of Christ. Follower of Christ
Hey,
with a name
Jorge.
like that. You better be a follower of Christ.
That I am. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. Follower of Christ. I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume that you're Hindu.
Yeah, good guess, brother.
Hell yeah, let's go. All right, tell me about Shiva. No, I'm kidding. Of course.
Sure, I
Okay,
know.
so I'm an atheist. You're not. You're a Christian, presumably. Why should I believe in the Christian God?
Sure. So I'm just gonna start off with getting you to believe in God, like explain to you why I believe in God to begin with.
Yeah, sure.
You know, where do you think your morals come from?
I think that my morals come from both, in some degrees, some genetics, but primarily from values that were instilled in me, experiences that I've had, my parents, these kinds of things.
I think the morals that you live by every single day, where do they stem from?
you hear me?
Experiences, just
Experiences,
No, I did.
yeah. So like experiences that I've had, values that were instilled in me by my parents, by my family, by my friends, by my community, and then to some degree, I think that there's also a genetic component.
Genetic component? How?
Yeah. So I think that like humans have certain like kind of reflexive responses, in like the kind of way where like almost every human will have an innate reflex to like gag or to be disgusted by gore, right?
Okay.
So that's the kind of thing that you can build morals off of. It's sort of like a proto-morality. Like we are averse to gore. So like, why are we averse to gore? Well, maybe like gore involves lots of suffering, or maybe gore, whatever it might be. You can kind of see how you could build a sort of morality using that as a piece of your foundation. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense. I understand just how, killing is wrong because that can just be an evolution genetic thing. But I'm talking more about
Something like that.
Not stealing.
Yeah,
not
I think that those come
spreading
those
rumors.
those come from like the values that were instilled in me as a kid. The environment that I grew up in, the experiences that I've had, things like that.
Right, but those values were instilled in you by your parents, and your parents got those values from religion. Can I ask you
Not
an absurd
necessarily.
hypothetical?
I mean, so I'm going to reject the claim that you just made that they necessarily got their values from religion. But yeah, sure, go ahead.
Then where did they get them from?
I think from the same place that I just described.
No, but no one told you not to steal.
What do you mean no one told me not to steal? Of course they did.
Your parents
What-
told you not to steal.
Yeah.
Who told your
Yeah,
parents
exactly.
not to steal?
Probably their parents.
Right. But I'm trying to find the base of the morals.
So
right?
I think that these kinds
but-
of things, stem from like these like, I think that there's like a proto-morality that's kind of baked into us. So the gore thing is one thing, but the other thing is that we have like an inbuilt empathy. So, and the reason I say that is because we're a social species, and we are able to cohere more when we can sympathize or empathize with other people in our community. And so if we have this inbuilt empathy, and this is like part of the brain, by the way, there are these things called mirror neurons that like kind of play a role there. But if you have this inbuilt empathy, and you see somebody else, say, having their food stolen, and then you can imagine what it would be like to have your own food stolen, and you wouldn't like that. So your empathy would imply that it's bad when it happens to them too. So that's the kind of thing that, just a result of being a social species, that we could kind of expect to arise.
I can understand that, but from a surviving perspective, wouldn't it make more sense to steal the other person's food so you can live longer?
No, because we're a social species. We're not an asocial species. So human success is not about individual success. It's about, in some sense, tribal success, or in some sense, community success.
Okay. Here, let me just move on to my hypothetical.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I hope I'm going to word this in a way that doesn't get taken down, and I want you to just really think about it. Do you find anything morally wrong with a man having relations with a dead chicken and then he eats it? Because he's not
With
wasting
a dead
food.
chicken? Yeah, I find it gross.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gross. It's grotesque, but you can't find a reason as to why it's immoral. He ate the chicken,
goes
so he
against
didn't
my
waste the
values.
food.
It goes against my values.
What
That's
values?
all. The values that I have. These are the kinds of values that also make me think that producing gore is wrong. It grosses me out. It's that's the
But
bottom.
can you give me a reason why it's wrong?
The
just
reason
because of
is
the fact
that
that
it conflicts with my values.
Right, but what is conflicting about it?
That it's a man having sex with a chicken.
Right, you might not have those desires, somebody else might have those desires, and
Okay,
if that person came up
whether
to
or
you
not
and told
they
you that
have,
they had done
I
that.
don't care what their desires are. It conflicts with my values.
Right, but your values are you just saying that it's gross, that you find it
Yeah.
grotesque of
Yeah.
a man having relations with a chicken.
Yeah, I
But
could
that's
try
not
to come with some post hoc justification, but like one of the values that I'm going to fundamentally, the kinds of things that I'm going to fundamentally build my values from are these kinds of things that are like reflexively disgusting, reflexingly disturbing to me. Those are the things that I'm going to build my values off of. So like, yeah, that's the bottom. Sorry.
right, but you're not understanding the point. The point that I'm trying to make is that your values, whether you realize it or not, do stem from religion because you know that it's wrong. And the only thing telling you
Prove
not
it.
to have sex with an animal, I'll tell you, bestiality. Every single religion, God speaks against it. You cannot have sex outside of a marriage with an animal or anything like that. And you know that it's wrong, but you can't give a reason as to why it is.
I
Just
did give you a
because
reason.
it's
It goes
nasty.
against my
You
values.
said that it disgusts you. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking
That's the
about a
reason.
real moral reason.
I'm sorry
know?
that you don't like the reason I gave you, but it is a reason.
Just because it disgusts you.
Yeah.
How is that a valid argument?
I'm not making an argument. You asked for a reason.
Right. But that still doesn't
What's the
prove that your
problem?
morals didn't come from religion.
I'm not making the claim that like my morals didn't come from religion. I'm just telling you that my values are such that this is disgusting to me. So I'm going to find it repugnant, and things that I find repugnant are going to be the kinds of things that I find wrong. That's just like that's a descriptive fact.
All right. I mean, you can't really argue against that. You're not really understanding the hypothetical here.
I understand the hypothetical perfectly. You just don't like the answer because you're not comfortable with what's it called? With it's a kind of subjective or an anti-realist position about morals. Like I don't think that there are moral facts about the world.
Sorry, you cut out. What'd you say?
I don't think that there are moral facts about the world. It's a appraiser subjectivity is what it's called. I am a moral anti-realist. I don't think that there is like I don't think that if you got rid of all humans, then all of us there would still be things that are good and bad.
Do you think that without religion, if there was no religion and every single person was an atheist, do you think the world would be a better or worse place?
I mean, I don't think that you can infer whether someone's going to be a good person based on whether they're an atheist. But what I can tell you is that religion is the kind of thing that allows that allows people who would otherwise be good to do horrible things.
How?
Well, if you're an otherwise normal person and you're brought up into a religion and the religion tells you that it's okay to go slaughter the unbelievers, well, now you're doing a horrible thing, even if you were just a normal, regular, good person.
Yeah, I can understand that, but that's where the religious debates come in. Like, what I'm really trying to get at is that the majority of the morals that people follow every single day do stem from religion, whether
Prove
they
it.
realize it or not.
Wait, prove it.
I just did. When I asked you, where did your parents
you
get
said
those?
that they exist in religion, but that doesn't mean that they come from religion. In fact, if
course
my
they do.
position is correct, then in fact the people who constructed these religions in the first place got their morals from their values, not the other way around. And so then they imposed those values in their religion that they constructed. So no, you haven't demonstrated that morals come from religion. You've just demonstrated that some of these morals can be found in religion. That doesn't mean that that's where they come from, though.
Okay, even let's say that 3,000 years ago, those morals of the people who so-called created the religions, they instilled their values into it and they wrote it down and set rules for the people following those religions.
Mm-hmm.
Modern day, everything that we do, the laws in our countries are based on the religious principles set. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, except it's not the case. Where in these religious principles does it say that you can't own slaves?
You can't own slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says
Which
no one will
religion
work for
says
free.
that?
Slavery as in a payment, because slavery has been brought up in religion as a payment.
Slavery as in owning people. When you're off the app, I can't hear you. No, I'm not going to assume that he's like typing it into ChatGPT. There's no way.
I don't think so.
Wait, I couldn't hear anything that you just said while you were off the app.
No, I wasn't off the app.
You were.
No.
I
don't know how to answer that.
Your profile picture disappears when you're off the app.
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
The slavery question, but
So then
slavery
that's
has been
evidence.
historically used.
That's evidence that at least not all of our laws, not all of our morals come from religion.
Yeah, I could agree on that. But the
And
real
if that's the case,
underlying
then the claim that morals come from religion is false, strictly.
That's true. Moving on to a different point, though, what
Sure.
do you really think that everything just came from nothing? Do you genuinely believe that?
No, I don't.
So, how do you think the universe was created?
I
How
don't
do you
know.
think we came to be?
I don't know. I don't
You
think
don't
that
think
there's
that it
ever
needs a
nothing,
design?
though. Do I think that it needs a design?
Listen,
I don't think so.
I heard this example a while back, and it kind of resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
The human eye has trillions and trillions and trillions of layers that need to perfectly align for the person to be born with sight. If
Just to be
even
clear,
one of those
like,
layers,
that's an exaggeration, right? It doesn't have trillions of layers.
no, it does have trillions.
Okay, how many cells are in the human eye? Let's Google.
Go for it.
Because my guess is it's not trillion. 1 to 3 billion cells total. So no, it's not. There's not trillions and trillions of layers. There's not even trillions and trillions of cells.
Okay, not trillions, billions.
Yeah,
So
sure.
be it. It still
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
If even one of those are out of line, the person is born blind. If you took
Well,
every
that's not
single
true.
component in a car, it is.
That's not true at all. No, no, you could literally just like remove a single cell from your eye and you'd be fine.
I'm talking about the layers that construct the eye.
What layers? There's like, do you mean like the different parts of the eye? Because there's like, I don't know, 10.
Sure. Yes, but all
So
the
like,
different,
yeah, if you like remove the lens
all
from the eye,
works.
you're not blind.
not
you
just the
just-
lens. It all works harmoniously, and it
But-
all.
But we agree that you could just remove the lens and you don't go blind, right?
What do you mean
Like
the lens?
you can see without a lens, the lens of the eyeball.
Sure, I'm talking
Okay,
about
so,
even
like,
a
so you
slight
can- so-
genetic.
So you can see without having all of the parts of the eyeball.
Not necessarily. What I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can
is
remove the lens
the
and you can still
chances-
see. So
Okay.
like, that's true. Like you can still see without a lens. You can't see well, but you can still see.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the fact that if even one of those components get out of place, not removing a part of it, that
Yeah,
person is born blind. I'm just talking about the
but
rarity.
that's not
of it.
true. But that's just not true. If the lens was out of place, you could still see, just not well. In fact, that's why I wear glasses.
I'm talking about the development of the eye while the child is developing in the womb. If one of the layers, while the eye is forming, doesn't go well, the person is born blind. I'm just talking about how
that's just
perfectly
it's just not true,
created.
right? If the lens forms blurry instead of clear, then you'll just not be able to see well. If your lens forms malshapen, then you won't be able to see well, but you can still see. And by the way, just as a point of reference, there are organisms which have all the way from the most simple eyes all the way up to the most complex eyes. So we know that you can see with very, very simple, very, very reduced eyes. There's no there's no irreducible complexity here.
Okay. I understand your point.
Like the
but
evolution of the eye
I'm
is
just-
really well understood. Surely you know that, right?
I'm just trying to
even show
get
you.
at the rarity of everything forming so synchronized and harmoniously is close to nothing, and that there
How do
almost
you
needs
come to
to
that
be a designer
conclusion?
behind it.
How do you come to the conclusion that it's so rare? Like
Because it
evolution is not rare. Evolution is very, very straightforward. And in fact, not only have we seen, in fact, we know the evolution of the eye is not rare because we know that the eye has evolved separately multiple times.
What do you mean it's evolved separately?
So the kind of eye that octopus and squids have is a completely separate evolutionary lineage from the kind of eye that we have. and yet it's just as functional. It's better in some ways, worse in other ways, but it's just as functional. And so like this is an example of the eye evolving twice.
Okay. So you think that the ecosystems that work harmoniously, everything that's set into place, as perfect as it is, if gravity was off by just a little bit, we would all be dead.
Where are you
Everything
getting these?
needs to work.
Look, I don't know if you're getting this from TikTok or from like Ken Ham or something, but like none of this is true. You're just saying things that are like straight up false. It's not true that if you just
All right,
change
so if
gravity a little
gravity
bit.
was increased by 10%, would our bodies be able to handle it?
Yes.
No, they wouldn't.
Literally, we have fighter pilots who can sustain 8x gravity.
If gravity today on Earth was magnified by 10%, you're telling me
we'd be
we would
fine.
be completely fine.
Yeah. So okay,
No, we
I'll
wouldn't
give you
be
an
fine.
example. I'll give you an example. I'm 8'4" and I weigh 155 pounds. Right, very skinny guy. You increase my weight by 10%. That's another 15.5 pounds. So that would put me at 170 pounds. You're telling me I couldn't hold myself up if I weighed 170 pounds?
That's your weight. I'm talking
That's
about
what gravity
the
does.
gravitational force of Earth.
Well, that's what gravity does. Gravity makes you have weight.
It pulls you closer. Everything would collapse.
Why would everything collapse? Things would only collapse if they couldn't hold up 10% more weight.
All right, we'll call it 30.
I can hear you typing. Even then, there's no problem there.
There wouldn't be a problem.
No, I mean, like,
You don't think
I don't know how much margin of safety engineers have built into their bridges and stuff, but my understanding is that engineers build in like 2x margins of safety. So like buildings would stand, people would, our legs would get tired a little bit faster, I guess. Our leg muscles would get stronger over time to hold up our extra weight, or 30% extra weight, but like, no, we'd be fine.
So you're telling me that if something was put out of place on Earth, I'm talking the way that the ecosystem works, the atmosphere, just the synchronization of the universe. If something was put out of place, it wouldn't have a domino effect where everything went horribly wrong.
If you suddenly changed one thing without changing anything else, then it would have effects. That's absolutely true. Now, it turns out that some ecosystems are more fragile than other ecosystems because those ecosystems are the kinds of things that are like basically surviving on a what is it, like a needle's edge? That's not the right word. So, but some ecosystems are more fragile than others. That doesn't mean that all of it, that doesn't mean that it's designed. It just means that these things evolved in such a way together so that it became fragile. But when everything's in place, which it would be under the evolutionary conditions, it works perfectly well.
Evolution doesn't explain planet placing, doesn't explain.
Yeah, it does explain
the
planet
oxygen
placing.
levels in the
Physics.
air.
Yeah, evolution does explain the oxygen levels in the air, by the way. Razor's edge, that's the word. That's the phrase.
What phrase?
I said needle's edge instead of razor's edge. I meant razor's edge. It's neither here nor there. But yeah, evolution does account for the oxygen levels in the air, and gravity accounts for the orbits of the planets.
But it needs a creator. It needs a
Why?
designer.
Why?
Because if you took all the components of a car, put it in a box, and you shook it up, you're never gonna end with a car. It's
Good
too
thing
many
evolution.
things that
Good
have.
thing evolution is not just shaking everything up. Evolution is not just like randomness and randomness only. Like, it's just not what evolution is.
Evolution doesn't explain everything.
It explains life on Earth. It explains ecosystems on Earth, which is the arguments that you were making.
So explain to me how you think that we came to be.
Like humans? We evolved from earlier hominids.
Have you noticed that when you look at the skulls and the skeletons that we have of the Homo erectus, what's the one before Homo sapiens?
Homo erectus.
Yeah, Homo erectus.
Mm-hmm.
They have very similar features to the ones that we have today. Their skulls.
Yes, that's how evolution
very
works.
Similarly sized. No.
Yep,
But
that's
what
how
I'm saying is
evolution
that
works.
them compared to us, there isn't a ton of evidence for evolution itself.
Oh, there's so much
Why
evidence
is it
for
the same?
evolution. Yeah, there is.
Why is it to say that it's a whole different species compared to the Homo sapiens that we are today? They don't have different brain sizes. They have
Wait, yeah,
pretty
they did.
similar.
Hold on, yeah, they did. Homo erectus. I'm just gonna get the numbers for you really quick. Homo erectus versus Homo sapien brain size. So the Homo erectus had an average brain size about 60 to 75% the size of the modern human.
60 to 75.
Yeah. That's like a huge difference.
It still doesn't. Does that distinguish an entire species?
It's not just that. There's also other morphological differences. Like there's going to be jaw
Like
differences.
what? Like that they're going to have a tailbone?
There's going to be other anatomical differences. I'm not a biologist, so you can look this up yourself if you want to know the distinguishing features that make Homo erectus a different species from Homo sapien. I can look that up for you if you want. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of anatomical differences. There's also genetic differences, right?
I mean, of course, over time things are going to change, but I wouldn't
That's called
necessarily say that
evolution.
I wouldn't say that it's enough of a change to call it a whole different species.
Okay, so
Everything needs a cause and effect. Not
yes, yeah, the evolution is evolution acts to produce causes that have effects. Like I don't. Evolutionary forces are quite strong. They're quite capable of producing changes.
But if our thoughts are ultimately nothing more than just survival-oriented physical processes, then why should we trust them to discover the objective truth?
Bro just
It
pivoted hard to
makes
the
more-
evolutionary argument of against natural selection. Yeah. So our thoughts are not just oriented towards survival. The reason giving or the belief forming mechanism is oriented towards survival as a functional mechanism. It's not that we form beliefs oriented for survival, it's that we have mechanisms for forming beliefs oriented for survival. And because those mechanisms are agnostic about what the inputs or how the inputs should correlate with the outputs, merely that they have to be beneficial, you can't hard code in incorrect things into the mechanism itself without expending extraordinary amounts of evolution or of evolutionary resources. So the simplest possible solution to the evolutionary problem of solving environmental conditions faster than evolution can allow you to solve is to have good reason or good belief forming mechanisms that accurately represent what's true about reality. So like there are very good reasons to think that the way that we think is reliable.
But you mentioned earlier in the
Can you
live
address what I
that-
said?
Yeah, what you're saying does make sense. I get it. It's hard to debate atheism. It really is, because obviously I've had a lot of experiences with God, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Atheism does make more sense if you're looking at it just black and white.
So why would you be a theist, let alone be a Christian?
Because of my personal experiences, because of the things that I see, the things that I feel, and because there are arguments for it. Evolution does not disprove religion.
I
I
never
do
said
believe
that.
that.
You're the one who's somehow rejecting it for some reason. I don't know why.
I do believe that the majority, we already debated this, we don't got to go back into it, but I do believe that the majority of our values do stem from religion. If they didn't exist, I do believe the world would be a much worse place. Even the law set by the United States, the Constitution, it was a religious Christian country.
What do you make of the Treaty of Tripoli?
The what?
The Treaty of Tripoli? You're not familiar?
The Treaty of Tripoli?
Treaty, like a political agreement. The Treaty of Tripoli. It was a treaty that the United States made with. I don't remember what the country it was made with.
Oh wait, I think I know what you're talking about. Where it says that it was not founded on the Christian religion.
Yeah, exactly that one. The government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. That's what it says in the Treaty of Tripoli. This was, signed 10 years after the United States formed-ish.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
seems like
it
it's in
might not be
direct conflict
based.
with your claim.
I could see that. But that still doesn't answer where they come from originally.
The United States' government organizational structure comes a lot or is based in part on like Greco-Roman systems, and it's also based in part on the English system that they had, which with the Magna Carta and all that.
Hmm. All right. Well, I see we're just going in circles here.
I
I
agree.
think I gotta do more research and get back to you. Thank you for taking the time to debate me.
Fair enough. Take care. Thanks for being here.
Likewise. Yeah.
He was nice, I'll give him that, but it felt like he was just reading off of a list of proofs for God and didn't actually want to engage with any of them. From Tim Davidson with the $5. Ooh, what about the uranium glass? If I eat it, will I glow too? You will for a short time. From Tim Davidson with the $2. Safety glass is okay, right? It's in the name. Safe. True. In fact, don't eat safety glass. From Tim again. Guys, does this chicken taste funny? No, that's so gross. Can't believe you would ask that. From Super Pizza with the $2. I, therefore, God, atheist destroyed. True. Yep, you got me. And from Colin Bradley with the $10. This is Mage Colin, and I would just like to add that Jesus and God prior to the 16th century was depicted as a psychoactive mushroom, and the Holy Roman Empire banned psychoactive beer being produced. I mean, that's not true. Jesus was not depicted prior to the 16th century as a psychoactive mushroom. Jesus painting from 15th century. I'm just gonna double check this because maybe you're right. I just have to find one where he's not naked. Here's one. Oops, that's the wrong window. Here's a painting from the 15th century that depicts Jesus, and he's definitely not a mushroom. So, kind of weird. From Liquid with the $5, we would collapse if gravity was different. Yes, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong turned into a fucking black hole when on the moon. True. Well, no, but the gravity there was weaker, not stronger. And from Dr. Fudge with the $5. I'm so sorry for unleashing the army of fiberglass enjoyers. Look, people can enjoy fiberglass, just don't do it around me, okay? Actually, that's a lie. Don't enjoy fiberglass. It's bad. Also, somebody, one of my mods said, can you rectify your 8'4"? People make shenanigans in your chat stream with it. Bet you meant 6'4". No, I meant 8'4". No, I'm actually 8'4". I'm all leg, baby. And then we have one more super chat, then we'll bring up our next guest. From Infinitely Explosive with the $5. The eye argument was crazy. He started at trillions of layers, never defined what a layer is, and clearly didn't even know the basic anatomy of eyes. Yeah, that's why I think he was just reading off of something. Anyway, let's bring on our next guest. Let's bring up... I will bring up Perceptions Burger, but if it's just like vibe theism, we're gonna move on to another guest. Perceptions Burger, how's it going? Perceptions Burger? You there?
I'm okay. How are you?
Glad to hear it. Perceptions Burger, do you believe in a god?
Yes, I do. And the reason why is because essentially could have been fucking killed for like a lot of people could have been killed, but like I always think about like I don't even think about it like that.
What are we doing?
Why is there existence in the first place?
Oh, I think it's probably because nothing can't exist.
Well, then wouldn't you come to the logical conclusion? After all these people built pyramids and fucking wrote Bibles and fucking Qurans and Torahs and everything else, wouldn't you come to the fucking logical conclusion that they believe that there's a God?
Well, they believe that there's a god. I'm asking you why you believe that there's a god.
Well, because it's a logical fucking conclusion. Like I said,
it's logical that they believe in a god. How did you believe in a god?
Because, dude, why is there existence? Do you believe that I'm a real person?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe. Yes, I believe that you're a real person.
If you don't believe that I'm a real person, you think that I'm someone different than you.
Yeah, I do.
Right. So
how does that mean a god exists?
Because I'm not you, am I?
True. How does that mean a god exists?
Oh, where did this whole shit start?
I don't know. I don't even know if it did start.
Well, oh, really? So there's just Bibles and pyramids and shit, and fucking we just gotta be like, hold on, let me check. Matthew 3:31. Oh, damn. fucking somebody wrote this shit down, and we're supposed to not believe that God is real?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're not giving me a reason.
And
Do
everything.
you want to give me a reason why you think that God is real?
Do you believe that God's real?
No.
No. Why not?
Because I think that the kinds of thing that a God would describe is the kind of thing that's impossible.
How do you fucking think this whole shit started?
I don't know. I don't know how it started. I don't think it was God,
Well,
though.
We're gonna have a lot of fucking proving to do because we have fucking evidence and shit, and you
What's
don't.
your evidence?
My evidence is the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the fucking pyramids. The
So, like
goddamn
books,
fucking
because the
everything.
books say it's true, it's
You
real?
have nothing. You are
Because the books
literally-
say it's true, it's real? Is that the argument that you're making?
Well, you have nothing, dude. You have no
Wait, why
logic.
aren't you addressing what I said?
First of all, you're gonna about to get your ass Candace Owened all across this motherfucking place right
This
now.
has got to be a troll, right? This is like a
No,
peak,
I'm not
like
trolling.
an excellent troll.
Why do you think there's existence? Why isn't
This
there
is
just
this is all an
Bro,
elaborate
why is
joke, right?
complete nothingness?
There's no way. I'm about to get Candace
Why
Owen
isn't there- Hold up, bro. Why isn't there complete nothingness?
because I think nothingness is impossible.
Well, why is there possibility at all?
No, I think that nothingness is impossible. It's not a possibility. That's the point. Now, if you want, I can read you an argument for the impossibility of nothingness if you'd like. I have it
You're
somewhere.
Your definition
Where
of
is
what you're
it?
fucking explaining doesn't make any fucking sense to me, bro.
Oh, I guess I don't have it in my Word document. That's fine.
Why is there existence in the first place?
Because the alternative would be there being no existence, and that is impossible.
Well, then what is possible? Explain it to me.
Yeah, so a possible thing is the kind of thing that doesn't invoke a contradiction. And I can go point out a paper for you that
You don't believe in
philosopher
God.
wrote.
Why
believe in
don't you
God.
believe in God, sir?
I've already given you the reason, actually.
No, you haven't.
I did. You might just not remember it. The reason is that the kind of thing that a god would be if it existed is the kind of being that's not possible.
Then how do you exist in the first place, sir?
Because non-existence is impossible.
Did your mom and your dad have sex and you were born?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Okay. So how do you think that's possible?
Well, there's no inherent contradiction in a man and a woman having sex. So, possible.
What? You don't think that basically like I don't know, man.
I can explain how it works to you if you want. I
You just
assume that
think
you're like old enough that you've
a
taken
big
the class
random
that explains how it
fucking
works, but
That randomly we just fucking you're basically a psychopath.
really, you
You
think that
fucking
I'm the
don't-
one who's coming off as a psychopath in this conversation?
Okay, let me ask you another question, sir. Why do you fucking ever fucking decide to treat
Are you
people with
drunk?
kindness and respect? Yes, I am.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Yeah,
You sure you want to come up here
congratulations.
and like
What's
embarrass
your
yourself
fucking
while you're drunk?
excuse?
You're probably
What's
gonna
your
like.
excuse for being a fucking idiot.
I mean, like you're probably not gonna be happy with your performance here.
No, bro, it's not a performance. What is life a stage? And
Is it
that you're
okay,
not-
chat? Is it
complaining
unethical
about?
for me to debate a drunk guy?
Yes. No.
It is. Okay. There is debate, but I'm gonna side on the yeses. Perceptions Burger. I would have loved to have kept that conversation going because it's really good content, but I'm not going to out of maximal good faithness. It's not a word. From Red Links with the $2, go out and touch the fiberglass. Exactly. Go out and touch the fiberglass. From Matt Lloyd with the £2, we'll stop eating fiberglass when you buy a Volvo. No, I will not. Why kick the only interesting conversation? Because he was drunk. And it's probably unethical to debate someone while they're drunk. From Super Pizza with the $5, you are witnessing the revelatory power of Dergs, like that one caller was talking about. Rejoice. Yeah, there you go. Look, it's probably fine to debate people who are drunk. Probably not fine to broadcast it. From Colin Bradley with the $10, God was not only depicted as a mushroom. Look up Abbey of Saint Savin-sur-Gatempe and Church of Saint Martin at blah 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 blah. I will do so. Actually, I won't do that. But thank you for the references. And from Tim Davidson with the $5, how dare you? My mother is a saint and would never defile her body in such a manner. My brother and I are both immaculate conceptions, of course. Of course. Of course. I'm just going to double check for the Cash App or the Venmo. By the way, there's a Venmo now. So if you are interested in that, if you want to support me, but you only have Venmo, there's a way to do that. All right, let us... Sorry, I'm just deleting a few emails because I have good email hygiene. I'm very proud of this. Whew. Let us bring up our next guest. Let's bring up Paul Smith. That's loud. Really fucking loud is what that is. Paul, you there?
Hello. Hi
You
there.
need to be in a you need to be in a quieter place.
Yes, I'm actually. I didn't expect to be live now, so
Well,
I'm
here you
just
are.
at a karaoke evening, but I'm outside. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Paul, do you believe in God?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't. Can you tell me which God it is that you believe in, just so then I don't make any false assumptions about you?
Okay, so the God of the Bible, who is Jesus Christ in the flesh.
Okay, you're Christian. Great. That helps. Now, look, I don't, so why should I?
So let me start with this. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, first of all, the guy before, that was quite a bit hectic. That was rather hectic the way the language went. I do apologize about that. But
You don't have to apologize. It's not your fault.
so, may I ask, what's your reason for not believing in God?
Yeah, as I said to the last guy, the kind of being that a god would have to be if the god existed is the kind of being that I take to be impossible.
And why is that?
Yeah, so the kind of being that God would have to be would be a being without a body, and B, a being that exists absent time. And it's merely a mind. It's a disembodied, timeless mind, and I take minds to be the kind of things that are A, always attached to bodies, and B, temporal.
Okay. So have you ever believed in God and you went away from the faith?
I don't think so.
Has
Not as far back as I can remember, anyway.
have you just never believed in a God existing?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this. So for you to be able to believe in God, what would you like to see? Because I know, look, I can bring up Bible scriptures which will be pointless with all due respect, because as an atheist, you being an atheist, you don't believe in the book. So it will kind of be pointless bringing the Bible scriptures up. But what would you like to see or hear to actually believe that God exists?
Some kind of evidence or an argument, some sort of justification, something like
And
that.
what evidence would be sufficient for you?
If I knew what like the border is, then I would probably be able to tell you, but I don't. What I can tell you is that if like Jesus appeared in my living room right now and he went over to the sink and turned on the sink and snapped his fingers and wine came out, and then I went and got my wife and she saw him too, and then we pulled out our phones and recorded it, and we watched back the recording and he was still there, then I'd probably be a Christian. Now the question is surely that's not like the minimum that would be required. Surely somebody could offer me more easily accessible evidence, but it's somewhere between absolutely nothing and that, what I just said. That's where the evidence,
Right.
that's where the line is.
So do you believe that everything came from nothing? I know this is
No, I don't.
a conversation that comes up a lot when it comes to faith. But if you say you don't believe that everything came from nothing, where did everything start?
I don't know. I don't even know if there was a start.
But you see, that's where Christianity, us believing in God, is different. Like scientists says, if you ask them, how did everything start? Then scientist says, we don't know, but it's still being
Mhm.
studied.
Yep.
We believe as Christians that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I know
I'm aware.
you as an atheist,
But like,
an
why should I
atheist,
think
just
that that's true?
well, why does it have to be false? Because it's out
Because,
of the
like
Bible.
I said,
Why?
if God exists, then God is the kind of being that can't exist. The kind of being that's impossible, as I already explained. That's how we can
How?
rule that out.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure I follow you.
Yeah, okay, so look, perhaps I can give you an argument that will maybe it'll help. That's
Sure.
not the right thing. I have to pull up the tab that has my, and gonna shill for myself here. If you want access to my notes that I wrote up, my debate notes that has this argument I'm about to read, then consider becoming a member. $5 a month on YouTube, TikTok, you get a bunch of other perks too. So anyway, let me go pull up the thing. Here it is. Okay, yeah. So first premise, God has a mind. Second premise, minds have either changing mental states or an unchanging mental state, and that's exclusive. The conclusion is that God has either a changing mental state or an unchanging mental state. The next premise is that change only occurs in time. This is, perhaps you can take it as a definition of time, and God exists outside of time. Therefore, God has an unchanging mental state. However, being an agent means acting upon one's will. So we have premise 6, acting upon one's will changes one's mental states from I have the will to do X and have not done X to I have fulfilled my will of doing X. And the conclusion we can draw from that, because God has an unchanging mental state, is that God cannot act upon his will. Premise 7, an agent is a being that has a will and can act upon it. And conclusion that we can draw from that is that God is not an agent. However, if God exists, God is an agent. Therefore, you have a contradiction. So it's how you can get there, just from a temporality of the mind.
So you don't like the fact that there's contradictions in the
Yeah,
Bible.
I think that no, it's not the Bible. It's just the conception of what God is.
Okay. Do you believe in energy, like actual energy?
Probably not in the sense that you do.
Okay, so that can be a different debate, of course. But what I mean is, have you ever thought about this? As you've heard before, that God is omnipresent. He knows everything. He knows everyone. He's everywhere. Just like energy. Energy can, or is everywhere. Energy can form into anything possible. Now, have you ever thought that God could possibly be energy?
I don't
And
think that
therefore,
energy is a thing that exists. So
you don't believe energy exists?
no, I think it's a number. It's a property of a thing. It's not the thing itself.
I see. Okay. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Am I right in saying that I don't... Can I give you my personal belief when it comes to atheism?
Sure, but I'd really like to know why I should think that God exists.
Yes. No, I'll get to that now. I don't think that atheists want God to exist. That's the biggest thing.
Honestly, if God existed and God was like all loving, I would love for that thing to exist. That'd be awesome. But unfortunately, it isn't. It isn't, and it doesn't.
Well, I don't know, because let's just say this. Let's say God didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
How did everything exist? How did everything...
Feels like you asked that already, and I've already answered it.
Yes, of course, but I'm just trying to make a point here, what doesn't make sense to me is how everything went from absolutely nothing, randomly exploded.
That's not my position.
Yeah.
It's a straw man of my position, right? I don't think that there was ever absolutely nothing.
So what was there before everything?
I don't think that there ever was a state of affairs where there wasn't something.
So, but surely it had to have a beginning, right?
No.
But how does that make sense?
You don't think God had a beginning?
No, God, because God's he always existed.
Yeah,
That's
so how does that make sense?
Well, easier than nothing created everything, because
that's not my view. Is not that nothing created everything. That's not my view.
What's your view?
That there was never nothing.
Okay. Oh, so you believe there was still something before there was actual life?
Well, obviously there was something before life. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like the planet
so
existed before life existed on Earth.
Before there was actually life created, there was still...
Like the planet Earth existed before life
so
existed?
Everything kind of just floated around, like the Earth, the Sun, or before the Big Bang, everything... Okay, but who created that? How could
Who
it
created
be
the
just
Earth? I don't
floating
think it's
around for
created.
billions of years?
There are
And
natural
then who created?
dispositions.
Who thought about that there be life?
There are natural dispositions that objects in the universe have. These are things they have like tendencies, for example. So tendencies would include things like forces, gravity, electromagnetism, that kind of thing. And those tendencies lead to the formation of
Okay, and
structures.
But who decided it to look like that? Who
I don't
decided
think that
it
there was a
to
who
become so
involved.
intelligent?
I don't think that there was a person
Okay,
that
then
there was a
what
who
was
involved.
it?
I think that this is a natural disposition of matter, of stuff. That stuff behaves in a certain way. If it didn't behave that way, it would be different matter.
You see, if I take a box and I put a broken watch in there that's literally in pieces,
Yep.
there's a bunch of pieces, and you keep shaking everything around. When you open it, will the watch be put together?
Probably not. But that's because there's not like some
Exactly.
watchmaking force. There's gravity, there's electromagnetism, and those forces can produce structures. They don't produce watches on their own, but they produce watches through the formation of people.
Yes, because people made it. People decided this needs to go there, that needs to go there, and therefore it will be a watch that's workable. Don't you think the universe works the same way that there's
No.
a creator who created everything?
No, I don't think that.
Really?
Yeah, why should I?
Because it's the truth.
Well, okay, why should I think it's the truth?
Because it's physically and literally impossible for everything to exist today without an almightier force, an almightier being to create it. It's physically
I think,
impossible for us
okay,
to be
in what way is
that.
it physically impossible?
Because, just going back to the beginning, because, okay, I'm gonna bring the Bible in, okay, because
Sure.
at the end of the day, everything points back to that. Genesis 1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
That is what it says.
All right?
Well, I mean, it depends on
Yes,
your
that's
preferred
what it says.
translation, but arguably that's a bad translation, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, I do understand your point about the translation, and trust me, I had all of these questions so many times, and when it comes to contradictions, it gets a bit messy because of a lack of understanding. But for example, if there were
But
two groups
it's neither here
I'll
nor
get
there.
back.
You were making a point. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem at all. No, we're having a conversation, right? So, for example, the Titanic. Apparently, one group of people saw the Titanic splitting in half before it went down, and apparently another group saw the Titanic. No, it went down in one piece. So there's two different.
I'm not
groups.
critiquing, like, I wasn't making a critique of the Bible.
Yeah. No, I'm just explaining the whole contradiction part.
I
Point is,
didn't say anything
there's
about
a lot
contradiction. I didn't bring that
Oh,
up.
no.
Why are we talking about that?
No, I did.
Why?
I think I'm trying to find the best way possible to explain why it's essential to believe in God. And you must please forgive me. I'm kind of jumping around from point to point, because look, I've been speaking to many atheists, and it is very difficult. It's really difficult because I can't actually physically tell you or show you that God exists. I can tell you why I believe God
For such
exists.
a thing that is so powerful, for such a thing that's so present, for such a thing that has so much influence over reality, isn't it a little weird that you have so much trouble finding evidence for it?
The thing is, evidence is all around us. It's just I don't believe you see or want to see it. For example, your body. Have you ever looked up how the human body works? You know how the digestive system works.
Yeah,
How
I
is
have.
that possible? The way you and I are talking now, I'm not telling my stomach to
Yeah, it's autonomous.
digest the food. I'm not telling anything in my body to do what it needs to do.
Yep,
How is
there are
evolution
autonomous functions.
Yes, but how? How could our bodies that's so magnificently made and created?
I mean,
Just-
are you sure? How magnificent are they really? Like, I wear glasses. I have celiac disease. Not particularly magnificent.
Oh, you
Kinda
mean like
flawed.
why does the eyes decay?
Well, no, I mean, like, not always a matter of decay. Like, some people are born needing glasses. It's not like a
Yes.
case of decay.
Well,
Like,
you
the
know,
world, or the human body isn't perfect. It's quite far from it.
it was supposed to be until sin came in, and then our bodies were, after the whole story about Adam and Eve eating the apple.
I'm
So
familiar with the
when
story.
sin-
We probably shouldn't go down that route.
Yes. Okay, so I'll respect that. Don't worry about that. But
I mean, like,
we
we
are
can.
living.
It's just it'll just end up making you look like a psychopath.
Okay, however you want to see it. You've got your reason why you think so. It's all good. But at the end of the day, because sin is in this world, look, there is a better life coming, and we believe
Right,
it's
that's the thing in
heaven.
contention. Why should I think that there's a better life coming?
You see, you don't have to think this. I mean, we've got free will to think what we want. So you can really think whatever you want, whether there's a life after death or not.
Look,
Well,
I get
I'm
that.
trying to be
Of course, you can. People can be wrong. I'm asking why I should think that it's true.
Do you believe you need a near-death experience, or do you believe those are just,
I
things going on?
100% agree that there are some strange experiences that people have when they're close to death. I don't know if that points at anything God-related, so I don't see how it's really relevant.
So let me ask you this. I've seen many things when it comes to near-death experience. I even personally, I know a lady personally who had a near-death experience, and she explained to me what she saw. Now, my question is, let's say all of those near-death experiences are true. Okay, I even had my own experiences.
Well, then Christianity can't be true, by the way, if that's the case.
So it can't be true.
It cannot be. If all of the near-death experiences are true, then Christianity is necessarily false, because there are near-death experiences that are in direct contradiction with Christianity.
You mean like the way what they experience, or like
Yes, what they experience.
They don't just see God. The one sees Muhammad, the one sees God, the one sees Jesus.
Something like that.
etc.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then okay, I can't actually say I've seen anything where people saw Muhammad, because
Okay, so there are documented cases from India of Hindu folks who have seen Vishnu sitting on the throne in heaven.
oh, is that so?
Yeah. You thought that
Okay,
near-death experiences
okay.
were always Jesus?
Well, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, you're in for a wake-up call.
No, apparently. Okay, can I give you this one verse that tells me why Jesus is the only God, and why?
Sure, I'm sure that there's a
Why?
verse that says that. Actually,
Okay, so
actually, I'm very curious. I actually don't think that there's any verse in the Bible that says that Jesus is the only God. But go ahead and read me the verse.
Cool. Now, this is my personal favorite verse. And
Sure.
it is,
Okay, what's the verse called? What's the verse?
Yeah, you can open your notes if you want. John 14, verse 6.
Okay, John 14,
And it
6. Great.
says- Yes. And it says, Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And then you think, okay, but it's Jesus. He says it's
I'm
God.
just
that's not
checking.
true.
I'm just checking. Where does he say that he's God here?
Oh, I hear what you're saying. So I need to get the scriptures. If you can give me a couple of minutes, but I and the Father are one. Before Abraham. Oh wait, you mean to say you're looking for scriptures where Jesus actually says, "I am God"?
Well, that's what you said that the scripture was going to say. Not
Okay.
only that he is God, that he is the only God. But it doesn't say that here.
So nowhere in the Bible it actually says.
Right, I
Jesus
agree.
says, "I am God. Worship me."
Well, he never even says, I am God. Right?
No. He doesn't.
Right, so
However,
so
you believe in
then
the
it follows
scriptures
that
of
nowhere in the
Paul.
Bible does it say that he is the only God. Surely.
but does Jesus have to say it? for
But
us
you
to
said
believe he's
that you said that this is a verse in the Bible that says Jesus is the only God. But it doesn't say that.
God? I made a mistake there. I meant to say the only way to heaven, and why he's the most important decision one can make. You must excuse me. I made a bit of a mistake there. Not that Jesus says he's God, but where Jesus says, "I am the only way to heaven."
He also
That's the
doesn't
scripture.
say that. He says, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. He doesn't say anything about heaven specifically, but if you interpret coming to the Father as getting to heaven, then yes, that can be read that way.
Yes. Okay. Now, where Jesus says is God, he doesn't actually, and me as a Christian, me as a believer can tell you, it doesn't actually anywhere in the Bible say that Jesus says, I am
True.
God, worship.
Very true.
However, let me see if I can go back to this.
When you're off the app, by the way, when you minimize the app on your phone, I can't hear you.
Oh shoot, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, as long as you pull up the app, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, damn, sorry. Yeah, I'm not really the best when it comes to TikTok. Anyway,
That's fine.
so I can't recall every scripture specifically, but there's many scriptures where Jesus uses different references. For example, let's say I'm a teacher. I'm not. Okay, my wife is a teacher. If my wife tells people, listen here, I have students and I see them in class. Does she tell them what do you think she is with her career? If she's got students and she is in
She's
class
probably a
every
teacher.
day?
Probably a teacher.
Okay. Now, so did she say she's actually a teacher, or
No,
did she say
it's
a
implied
few
though.
things?
It's definitely implied.
So that's exactly
So like
it.
the point is that like this is actually like famously this is actually like kind of a point of contention amongst Christians, at least amongst early Christians, and which is why you ended up with people like Gnostics, right? Gnostics didn't believe that Jesus was God because apparently it's vague enough that you could have like a large group of people who didn't believe that based off of the same scripture. So it's definitely so unlike the case where you say, my wife goes to class every day and has a bunch of students, unlike in that case where it's not vague at all, of course we can determine that this person is a teacher. Apparently the Bible is sufficiently vague that we can't really figure this out.
Have you ever thought about that? That's why the Bible is so alive until today. 2,000 years, the Bible has been a book that people actually talked about. It's alive, because of the, how you would call it, contradictions, because of the constant what if, because of the always is Jesus
It may
God.
not be the Gnostics, by the way. I may be thinking of a different sect, but there were sects that believed that Jesus was was merely the Son of God and was perhaps a divine representative, but wasn't God himself, etc. Like this is a thing that's pretty well documented.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway.
But don't you think it keeps the word alive? Because if it was okay, I think you believe that the Bible is a storybook, right?
There are some stories in the Bible. Also some
Okay,
wisdom in
but,
the Bible. There's some genealogies in the Bible. It's not one kind of genre.
Okay, but you don't believe that the people who wrote the Bible actually? Do you believe it's just a bunch of stories to make up a God so that people believe in it, and because of that it's true? What do you think the Bible is about? Do you think it's just a storybook or a fairy tale?
The Christian Bible is primarily about Jesus.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
I think that it's
also,
an attempt at a telling of Jesus's life and his story and so on. An attempt to describe some divinity there, etc., etc. Like, what else?
And sorry for interrupting you. And what does the Bible say? Who is only allowed to judge us?
I don't know. You have to tell me. Probably the Father or something.
God the Father, right?
Sure.
And what if the Bible says, who's coming back to judge us?
In the Bible, it says Jesus, I think.
Okay, but isn't only God allowed to judge us?
Maybe.
So,
It definitely reads like an inconsistency because Jesus is not the Father, right?
So Jesus is not the Father?
Right. So then it can't be that if Jesus is not the Father and only the Father can judge us, then Jesus wouldn't be able to judge us. So it just sounds like an inconsistency.
So no, it's a confusing matter. Trust me, I've been struggling with this thing a long time.
Okay, by the way, hold on. Sorry, I have to address the chat. No, core Gnostic views on Jesus is that he was not God. I was right about this. Y'all were just gaslighting me. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So Jesus is God in the flesh. All right, as it says in John 1 verse 14. Because in the beginning was the Word. Who do we believe is the Word?
Well,
Jesus,
if you trust
right?
John, yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. So in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then you go down to verse 14. You can open your notes or your, I don't know what program you've got, or do you have a Bible? But in John 14, it says, the
Look,
Word
I'm
became.
willing to grant that from the Bible, there is a reasonable way that you can infer that Jesus is God from the Bible. But I don't think that the Bible is reliable. So, like, I don't really care. It's not really important to me.
No, but you see, I think that's exactly where the difference is. Because you said you don't care, it's kind of like, am I wrong in saying that you're coming on air and you're saying, I don't believe God is real, disprove me. I don't
Well,
think
it's not
any
quite what it
form
says, but
of
sure.
Sorry?
You're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't think any form of evidence will be sufficient for you. And even if you
Well, look,
find
certainly
Jesus,
just the Bible won't be sufficient, because if I believed the Bible was telling me true things, I would already be a Christian. Right?
I, I don't know, because I know you believe in hallucinations. So if Jesus were to step in your room, and because you're not a believer, wouldn't you tell people that you just had an hallucination?
That's why I said that, like, if
Because
he came into my room and then I got my wife and she saw him too, and we got out our phones and our phones saw it too, then I'd be like, I guess I'm a believer now. Because those are, like, good ways to check. And, like, these are ways to check. Like, you know, from what I've heard from people who have, like, schizoaffective disorder, one of the ways that they check whether the thing that they're seeing is real is they will ask people around them to see if they see the thing that they're seeing. And they will also use their phone to see if their phone is picking up what they think they're seeing. So if it passes both those tests, then yeah, like, I don't know, it seems like it's real.
so your main source of evidence for you to be able to believe is Jesus must be in the room.
Nope, I didn't say that.
And
That was one way that I could come to that conclusion. It's not the only way. It was just definitely a surefire way that would work.
tell me, would you be open if I gave you a person's name and then you look at his videos? And this person, his name is Rion Slichelaar. He was actually he was a Satanist in. So I'm from South Africa,
I know.
and I'm sure. Sorry, where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from the American Southwest.
American Southwest. Okay. Are you familiar with Cape Town in South Africa?
I'm familiar, yeah.
Okay, so this man, Rian Svichelaar, my wife and I, we met him and his best friend Adele. They were both Satanists.
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Bang is in the chat? Hold on, I gotta bring up Bang soon. Bang, don't leave, I'll bring you up next. Sorry, continue.
Okay. So Rian Svichelaar, sorry, I'm just giving you this because
But what is he
this
gonna give? Like,
guy-
what kind of evidence is he gonna give me? Is he gonna give me, like, a testimony?
he was a Satanist.
Okay, is
and
he
he
gonna give
saw
me a
Jesus.
testimony?
Yes.
Okay, I don't
This-
care about
this
other
man-
people's testimonies. Testimonies are not compelling to me. It's like when
Oh, so
somebody
you
tells me
wanna
about their
see-
dreams.
Would you read books?
As long as they don't have testimony in them, sure. I mean, like, they can have testimony in them, I'll just ignore the testimony.
So I can give you 3 to 4 different names of devout atheists who went out their way to disprove Christianity.
And then
By
they
going out
found God because they had some sort of experience, and it's testimony.
They converted to Christian, and you're not interested in that.
No, I'm not interested in testimony.
But then, sorry man, what's your name?
I'm
Dr.
interested in
Blitz.
evidence. I'm interested in evidence, like some fact that I can verify, some argument that I can
honestly
consider.
I really hope that somehow you will find evidence, because I'm thinking that you want evidence, but no amount of evidence will
No,
be
I'm
sufficient.
sorry. All you're offering me is testimony. Testimony is not the kind of evidence that's compelling to me.
But
That's not the only kind of evidence that exists, right?
yeah, but what if you don't get the evidence that you are looking for?
Then I won't be convinced. Sorry. Like, unless somebody can provide evidence that's, like, beyond just, like, testimony, beyond, like, I had an experience and therefore you should believe it, then it's not going to be compelling. I would be convinced by my own experience, surely, but somebody else's experience would be like them telling me about a dream they had.
Have you ever prayed and asked God to give you a sign?
Yep. Nothing happened.
It never happened.
Nothing happened.
You've never seen a miracle happen in front of your eyes?
Nope.
I see. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be very honest. This is rather difficult.
It's fair.
And I'm not on air to try to convince you at all, because that's not my job. But I'm sure there are many people listening to me now thinking, "Oh man, come on, give this verse, say this." So I'm hoping you'll find the right person. But look here, man.
One would hope.
I'm gonna say this. We as Christians know what we believe in. All right, we really know what we believe in, and I'm gonna pray for you, not necessarily on air. I don't know if you'll feel
I
comfortable
appreciate that.
with that, but
I appreciate you praying for me. I know that it's meaningful coming from you. Paul, I am going to let you go, though. So thank you for being here.
I do understand.
Take care.
All right. Have a great evening. And, thank you for having me on.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
He was nice. Very wrong, but nice. One sec. We're going to bring up Bang because Bang needs a stern talking to about physics. We will do that in a minute. We're just going to read some super chats really quick. From our Arab Emirate Durham friend with the 729 Arab Emirate Dirhams. Can you let me in? I'm Roger the Vegan. Sorry, I did say I was going to bring in Bang next. Apologies. From Indentured Cervix with the $5. New rule: if you call Dr. Blitz, just ask questions, you must pay him a consultation fee. If only that's how it worked, right? From Scruffy Mans with the $2, the word is the bird. The word is indeed the bird. And from Zero Jin with the $2, caller can believe in the Quran instead. Why not? That's a good question. All right, let's bring up Bang and let's talk some physics. It's probably a good idea.
Hello, can you hear me?
Bang, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, can you just talk about like how your boy literally lied? Like,
What did he lie
physical
about?
Claims.
What did he lie about?
Well, 3 points actually. 3 points. I can actually prove that he did lie. And you actually supported his lies. He was like, "L Bang" in the comments, right? Because I was not.
Because you were saying dumb
accepting
things, yeah.
I was just saying dumb things, right?
You kind of were, but go ahead.
The whole thing started with Justin saying, Bang, you can't really say that quantum fields are contingent because they can be necessary, metaphysically necessary. Well, how is that necessary? You're just talking about, oh, they're so fundamental and they cannot be contingent. Well, how is that not the case? Well, first of all, Quanta actually tried to like defend that claim by saying no, they can be necessary, but something cannot be necessary if we can prove that it has dependency relations on other things, right?
What does a fundamental quantum state have dependency on?
Okay, so you're an actual PhD, right?
Yeah, I have a PhD in physics.
So we can expect some integrity, unlike some other.
Sorry, you cut out there for a second. I can expect some what?
I said so we can expect some actual integrity in science. Rather than
Quanta has plenty of integrity.
No, he doesn't.
As a scientist, he absolutely does.
He lied 3 times. He lied 3 times.
Okay, what did he lie about?
Okay,
so what did he lie about?
So, do quantum, in order for quantum fields to produce other particles or to actually engage in the real world as we know it, do they require other quantum fields to be coupled with?
No.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. In our world, there are many.
I can actually provide a study to.
In our world, please let me elaborate. In our world, the quantum fields do interact, but this is not required for quantum fields to exist.
Wait, that wasn't my question. Why? That wasn't my question. Wasn't do they require other quantum fields to exist? My question was, do they require other fields to produce particles or produce effects relative to our world?
What, I don't know what you mean by relative to our world. If our world was different, please, I don't know why you're interrupting me when I'm literally explaining what I'm telling you. Like I was in the middle of talking and then you just started talking again. The point is you can have particle states in a single quantum field system. You don't need other quantum fields. You don't need interactions with other quantum fields to have quantum states. In fact, the very first quantum field that you learn about when you're taking QFT, Sorry, I meant quantum fields. The very first quantum field that you learn about when you're taking a class on quantum field theory is a scalar quantum field that's non-interacting, and so you can have particle states there. There's no issues. There's no issues at all. Now, if you're indexing it,
oh my God,
if you're indexing it against the world that we actually exist in, well, the world we actually exist in has fields that interact with each other, but all you're saying is that the world is a way because the world is a way. Like the world in principle didn't have to be that way, and the quantum fields could still be fundamental, right?
Okay, so the way the world it is right now is because why the quantum fields
it's because our quantum fields are a certain way,
and if they haven't interacted with each other, the world would have been a different way. So they don't have to be this way for the world to be this way, right?
To be clear, that is assuming that these quantum fields are actually separate things. They don't have to be. In fact,
they are separate.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, look, I'm gonna minimize the app for a bit because I'm gonna pull up the textbook in which I got this from.
Please
It's
pull up the
actually
textbook.
pretty basic textbook that actually speaks about it. Okay, hold on, give me a second.
Go ahead. The electroweak symmetry breaking is going to get him. Textbook is Grok. Textbook is ChatGPT. Maybe he has actual textbook. I'd love to know who the authors of the textbook are. Yeah, isn't it fun to watch such a sweet learning opportunity? That is fun, I agree. He's been gone for a while. ChatGPT must be thinking. Pull up another textbook, just for funsies. Pull up Weinberg. If you've taken a QFT class, you definitely know Weinberg. Although you shouldn't take QFT out of Weinberg's book. It's super, super complicated. And it's super long too. But yeah, here's a pretty canonical example of a textbook, a QFT textbook by Steven Weinberg. Does a lot. In fact, let's actually go find the very first quantum field that they introduce. Here's a bunch of discussions. Here we go. Quantum fields and antiparticles. Let's go to page 191. Free fields. Oh, there you go. H is a scalar. It is the only field that's present in this description. It has annihilation fields and creation fields. You can form
the PDF
some sort
I have
of transformation
is
rule.
Because I do have it on my
what's
PC,
the name of the book? What's the name of the book? Or who's the author?
So hold on, let me open it.
Don't know the name of the author?
The name.
There's the equation of motion.
It's called An Introduction to Quantum Field Theory by Michael E. Peskin and Daniel.
Oh, by Peskin. Wait, Peskin and Schroeder? Oh, I think I have Peskin and Schroeder.
Yeah,
let me pull it up. That's actually where I learned. That's actually where I learned
Let
QFT out of.
me pull out the actual quote from it though.
Peskin. Oh, do I not have a copy of Peskin and Schroeder on my computer? I might not. I think I have a hard copy at my in-laws' house. You could have just told me it was Peskin and Schroeder, and I could have found it for you. No, it looks like I don't have a copy of Peskin and Schroeder in my textbook file, which means I must have had a hard copy when I was a grad student. Here we go. Here it is. Oh, let me pull up the actual. You can just tell me what page it's on. We can go find it. There you go. Ah, this is a familiar book. Here we go. Okay, so what page is it on?
Working on the phone with two apps is like it's like
What page is? Just tell me what page it's on.
Hold on, give me a second. I don't know the pages specifically. I think it's on chapter 4, though. 4.1. Chapter 4. Point 1 of chapter 4.
Yep. Here's chapter 4.1. Where? Oh, sorry.
Theory, philosophy, example. Right. Just do Control F. Do Control F and type. Free particle states have been eigenstates.
Free particle states have.
Just type states have been eigenstates because free particles are like a dash.
States have. Multi-particle states. These states. The phrase "states have" only shows up twice
it's in chapter 4. It's in chapter
okay,
4.
but that phrase "states have" only shows up twice in the book, and neither of them are in chapter 4.
Okay, then type we must include new. We must include new.
Must include new. Here we go. We now have
okay,
now. Okay,
now
let's read it. Let's read it.
Okay.
Up to this.
I'm gonna read
it because it's on the screen.
Okay.
So you don't even have it yet.
Can I read
we
what I
have
have
now discussed in some detail the quantization of two free field theories that give approximate descriptions of the many particles found in nature. Up to this point, however, free particle states have been eigenstates of the Hamiltonian. We have seen no interaction and no scattering. In order to obtain a closer description of the real world, we must introduce new nonlinear terms in the Hamiltonian that will couple different Fourier modes in the particles that occupy them to one another. Is that what you have?
Yep. So what does that mean?
You know that this is a single field, right? You can do this with a single field?
No, he's saying in order to obtain something of the real world,
yeah, you have to include new nonlinear terms.
You have to couple the fields.
No, you're coupling different Fourier modes, not the fields.
No, you are.
There's only one field. Does your version say fields or does it say different Fourier modes?
It says modes, and
Fourier
the particles that occupy them too. Wait,
yeah, the particles are the Fourier modes, or they, in some sense, they occupy the Fourier modes. But you can couple Fourier modes of the same field. In fact, this is what a phi cubed or a phi to the fourth field does, and it's a single field. It couples to itself. It's called a self-coupling, and that's what he's referring to with regard to the new nonlinear terms in the Hamiltonian. Those are self-couplings. What are you doing? In fact, he writes it right here. He writes it right here. In this theory, in this chapter, we will discuss 3 important examples of interacting field theories. The first is phi to the fourth theory. This is what I just referred to. This is a single field. The single scalar field. Even though there's an interaction, there's a single scalar field.
Hold on. But what does it do? What does it produce?
What does the phi to the fourth theory produce?
Yeah.
It produces scalar particle excitations.
Okay, do they match to the real world that we have right now? No, they don't.
I mean, partially that's what the Higgs boson is.
Okay, but that's exactly what the issue is. You need other particles.
Okay, so we agree that this doesn't support your view.
Excitations.
So we agree that this doesn't support your view. No, you can have particle excitations without multiple fields. By the way.
Well, because it says the particles that occupy them to one another.
The particles that occupy them are the Fourier modes. They're not different particles. They're different. They're different. I mean, you can say that they're different particles located at different places from the same underlying field. For example, the Higgs boson does self-interact in this way. The Higgs boson is actually very close to a phi to the fourth theory. So, I mean, like, look, I understand that if you don't know what you're talking about, you won't be able to read this properly and understand what it's saying.
Wait. Hold on. Explain, because I'm reading. I'm reading what you're reading. Explain the difference between the modes and the quote-unquote fields.
If you do a Fourier decomposition of a field, you get Fourier modes. It's one field that's been decomposed into many Fourier modes.
But that's contingent, though.
Yeah, you can say that the modes depend on the field. The modes
Okay,
depend on the
but that's-
field. The field
but
can be
that's the same
fundamental.
principle. But that's the
No,
same
it's not the
principle.
same principle. The modes can depend on the
from
field.
from the explanation that I had from Discord is that there isn't no fundamental difference.
Did you say
between
from Discord?
coupling- No, from what I've read.
Okay.
Right, the explanation that I read, there is no actual difference in function when it comes to like in terms of contingency when it comes to the fields and the modes that need to be coupled.
No,
So
the
you do
Fourier
need to
mode.
couple-
The Fourier
you do
modes
need to
are
couple
a
certain
the Fourier
hold
modes
on,
are a
you do need
part
to
of the
couple
field.
certain interactions.
The interaction is built into the Lagrangian.
What?
The interaction is built into the Lagrangian.
What is that?
What? How do you think that you can make an argument here when you don't even know what a Lagrangian is? By the way, I literally have the Lagrangian part of it highlighted.
Look,
on
all
the
I have to
screen.
make an argument is to show that you are not admitting that there is a contingency relation between these modes.
Yeah,
or these fields.
the Fourier modes are contingent on the underlying field. Absolutely.
Okay, good. So, and that field can do something without interactions, right? It needs physical interactions.
The interaction is the interaction is a part of the field.
No, it's not. It's not just part of the field. The field
Yeah, it is.
needs things for it to have interactions with it.
No, it doesn't need other things for it to
Yes,
have
yes, it
interactions.
does.
No, it doesn't. Literally, I'm highlighting an example of something that doesn't need anything else in order to have an interaction. This is a phi to the fourth scalar field theory, which there's in such a description of a world where there's just this phi to the fourth theory, you still have interactions, but you still only have one field.
Yeah, the interactions don't reflect the real world, though.
It's because it's a simplified version. But the point is that you can absolutely
Okay,
have a single
so-
field
so
that still has interactions.
What was my
with
first contention?
Just one field.
What was my
Your first contention is that you need multiple fields in order to have interactions, which is false.
Yeah, fields / modes, because that's
you
kinda,
you
that's
didn't
kinda-
say slash
that-
modes.
That's
Quit
kind of the
lying,
same
Bang.
function.
Quit lying.
That's fine.
You didn't say
that's fine.
modes.
No, I'm saying we can talk about fields in terms of modes.
No, you can't. No, the fields are fundamental.
Yeah,
the modes
yes,
are
yes, we
dependent
can.
on the fields. No, you can't.
Yeah,
The
but
fields
in
are
order to
fundamental, the
switch-
modes are
in
not.
order to switch in order for the modes to be switched, what do you need?
I don't know what you mean in order for the modes to be switched.
Yeah, modes are different, like different modes at different times, right?
What are you talking about? Different modes at different the modes.
Yeah,
modes are
the
just a
mode in the
Fourier
field.
decomposition of a thing.
Okay, and how does that happen?
It's not a thing that
requires
happens. This is not an event. This is not a thing that happens. This is a mathematical decomposition of a thing.
Okay, mathematical decomposition is it not a physical interaction?
No, a Fourier decomposition is not a
Okay, then
physical
you're full of
interaction. What are you talking about?
Then you're full of shit because I'm talking about real world physics interactions.
Yeah, physics interactions come from the Lagrangian.
Yes.
You write down a Lagrangian that has
Yes.
an interaction term in it, and you get interactions for
I'm
free.
gonna
You
make
don't
my
need a
question
Fourier
very clear
mode.
instead of
The
giving me a
Fourier
bunch of
modes are
mathematical
subservient.
jargon, right? In order for a real physical interaction to happen, in order for any kinetic energy to happen, right? In a quantum field, right? I'm not talking about some
That's
mathematical
begging the question, by the way,
representation.
against math. That's
Like,
begging the question, by the way, against time.
In order for any actual physical interaction to happen, unlike some mathematical, description.
Physical
right?
interactions
how
like
when-
the Higgs boson interacting with itself. Do you mean that one? Like that?
No, not
That's a
with
physical
itself.
interaction.
Not
That's an
with
interaction.
itself.
That's a physical interaction.
To produce something that is relevant to the real world.
The Higgs boson is a real thing that's relevant to the real world. I'm sorry.
No, that happens without any interactions.
No, it does. The Higgs field self interacts. It's a real
With
thing.
what? Yeah, with what?
With itself. It's a self interaction.
Bro, okay. The Higgs field, by the way, has at least a dependency relation on at least 19 arbitrary
No, it doesn't.
constants.
No,
Yes,
no, it
does.
doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does.
There's only two. By the way, there's only two constants in the Higgs potential. Just so you know.
Higgs fields don't have constants that they rely on.
The Higgs field potential, which is a property of the Higgs field, the Higgs field potential is characterized by two constants.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's dependent on the two
not
constants.
just two constants.
It is just
It's not
two constants, actually.
There's 19 constants, by the
No,
way.
you're talking about
and-
19 constants with regards to the standard model. That's not the Higgs field. That's not the Higgs potential. You're confused again. Here, I can show you the Higgs potential if you want. I can pull up a page that shows it too. Actually, it may even be in the
Here,
it
I'll
may even
pull
be in the
out the
book.
actual textbook again. Since this
You
one you actually
clearly
have
don't even
demonstrated-
understand the textbook.
I don't have to read the whole thing and like
You don't know. You don't understand
mathematical
it, so you're
equation.
not really
The thing is,
able to make an
you've
argument.
admitted. Look,
I've
Blitz,
admitted.
you admitted that in order to actually have a interaction relevant to the real world that actually replicates the real world as it's written in the textbook, you need to have coupled modes or
Yeah,
coupled
except
fields.
those don't require multiple fields.
Okay, coupled modes.
Yeah, modes are not
Modes
fields.
modes require physical interactions.
Physical interactions.
They don't require physical interaction. They just require a mathematical representation of like
modes.
some
Wait.
sort of
To be clear, in order to have self-coupling, like in the phi to the fourth theory, you don't need to know anything about Fourier decompositions. This formula captures the physical self-interaction of a phi to the fourth scalar field theory. That's what it does. It captures that mathematically. You don't need to know anything about Fourier modes. Fourier modes is just a way that we can like mathematically understand what's going on. Like, you're out of your depth
let
here.
me just make this very clear, because
I'm sure that what you're about to say is clear.
I'm not going to pretend I know more. Look, I'm not going to pretend I know more than you, right? I just want,
Sure.
because this is a metaphysical topic. This is not just scientific, okay?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
talking
right.
about
But if
the
you want to make
I'm
metaphysical
talking about
claims
the
about the
metaphysics
science,
here.
you have to understand the science
Hold on,
first.
No, I'm talking about the metaphysics here, right?
Yeah.
Are you
go
going to
ahead.
say to everybody that these kind of interactions, or quote unquote, modes or different ways of interactions of the fields and the particles would not entail a contingency relation of some sort?
Yep, it would not entail that.
Okay, so they metaphysically necessarily must be that to produce anything.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't entail necessity. It also doesn't entail contingency.
Okay, if it doesn't entail necessity, then it necessarily entails contingency.
That doesn't
Yes, it
follow.
does. All right, so do you want to hold to brute facts now?
I didn't say that either. No, just because
Okay,
one fact
so
doesn't
it's
necessarily...
literally one
You're confused.
It's literally
confused.
one of the three. It's
You-
one
no,
of the
no,
three.
you're
Either
confused
it's
about what the-
contingent.
I
Either it's brutes,
know that
or
it's
it's
one of those
necessary.
three things. I know that it's one of those three
Okay.
things. What I'm saying is the fact that there is a self-interaction doesn't give you enough data to determine which of the three it is.
But I wasn't asking about self interactions.
Yeah, you literally were.
No, I wasn't asking about. I was asking about interactions in which produces actual objects and particles in the real world.
That phenomenon
in the real world.
That phenomenon of scalar or of field interactions does not give you enough information to determine whether those fields are fundamental or not fundamental, whether they're contingent or necessary. It doesn't give you enough information.
So wait. What do you think Quanto was trying to argue for? He was trying to argue.
He was
for
making the position that it's at least conceivable that these are necessary.
Not just the least conceivable. The most bullshit, because he's saying, oh, these interacting, self-sufficient, ultimate explanations of the world, right, actually produces these things in the world without any kind of contingency relations, right? That's all I was arguing.
Yeah, you don't need contingency in order to have these things. They don't have to be contingent in order to be this way.
Yeah, in order for the field to be explained mathematically this way as a free field, no problem. I agree.
You can actually
right?
go
But
much
in
deeper,
order
and you
for-
can just have an underlying quantum state, and the underlying quantum state can give rise to space, it can give rise to time, and it can give rise to quantum fields. So you could go even deeper if you wanted to, and you end up with a necessary quantum state.
That's not really relevant to the discussion. I'm talking about an actual
It's actually
production.
closely related to what Quantum was talking about, by the way.
Yeah, I'm talking about an actual production of classical states in the real world.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about too, with regards to the underlying quantum
Okay.
state that gives
Now,
rise to space, time, and
you're
particles.
saying, hold on, and you're saying that this is something that can be achieved and conceivable, right?
Yep.
Mathematically and and in physics with just a singular field.
No, in fact, it's just a single quantum state. You don't even need a field, like an underlying field, for the state to be occupying. It's just a single quantum field. Or a single quantum state, I'm sorry.
Quantum state with no superposition. Superposition.
Well, I mean, it's just a single quantum state, so like you can break it up so that you can.
How does a single quantum state change its state?
It doesn't change.
Okay, if it doesn't change, how does it produce anything?
Yeah, because of correlations between components of that state.
What the fuck does that mean?
So yeah, I figured that this is above your head. So you can have correlations between pieces
obviously,
of a state.
obviously. Look,
So you
look,
can- so you-
neither
you-
me
so you can
nor
think-
anyone in the audience actually knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, no, there's
Everyone
at least
just, like,
there's at least
attacking.
one person, by the way, who does, because you know.
Okay, at least one person.
At least one person
The
besides me.
99% are just talking shit.
So
Okay,
so
go ahead.
the point is that you can have a single quantum. Think of it like a blob. You can have like correlations between the blob, and those correlations can correspond to temporal changes. They can correspond to spatial changes. They can correspond to space excitations, like localized excitations in space that would correspond to particles, etc., etc. And if you have a sufficiently large quantum state, then that quantum state, and I'm using large in kind of a loose way here. If you have a sufficiently large quantum state, then that quantum state can produce all sorts of these kinds of emergent things.
If you have a big enough quantum state with no
like conceptually.
superposition.
Well,
That doesn't change.
superposition assumes a basis, and we're not assuming a basis here.
Yeah, but in order, okay, has there ever been an experiment where a quantum state changed superposition without some sort of classical intervention?
Change its superposition
Yeah,
without.
like basically, like the superposition, like
I think
the
that's an
state of
ill-posed question.
the quantum particle changes without any coupling, without any observation.
Yeah, like trivially, whenever an electron is free flying, there's a quantum state associated with the electron here, and then
Yeah, but it doesn't.
10
really
seconds
produce
later,
anything. Yeah, that's
10 seconds
not
later,
really relevant.
okay, but so now you're just moving the goalposts. You wanted an example of a changing
I'm not
quantum state?
moving
I just gave you
the
one.
goalpoast. The whole topic is about
But to be clear,
a
the
real world scenario.
the underlying
about
quantum state
productions
that I
of
was giving
actual
you,
particles and
the
classical
underlying
states.
quantum state that I was giving you doesn't change. Time emerges from it.
So look. I don't want to take too much time because you said you're going to end the stream, right?
Yep.
Like,
Do you want to apologize for accusing Quanta of lying, by the way?
No, I'm not. He did lie. He did lie.
No, we didn't. Apparently you did, though.
You can rewatch. Wait.
I was there. I was in the comments. I was watching.
Yeah, I know. But you said that we cannot conclude from anything about what we know about these quantum fields.
Perhaps I'm more
would be
epistemically
necessary,
humble
right?
than Quanta is, but that doesn't make it a lie.
Okay, no, but he lied when he's saying, "Oh no, they are necessary and they can explain
might
the
be his
world
view.
fully."
That might be his view. That doesn't make it a lie.
Bullshit. It's not his view.
It doesn't make it a lie. Well, okay, so are you lying to me because you're a theist, and I think that your view is
His
bullshit?
view is not backed up. His view is not backed up.
Okay, I think that your view is not backed up. I think that your view is bullshit. Does that make you a liar?
It's not scientifically. Sure, I don't need the scientific jargon to explain.
Okay,
my
so
view.
you're a liar.
I don't need it.
I'm glad that you admitted it.
What? What?
Because your view's not
Well,
backed
he's
up.
saying-
It's bullshit.
He's saying scientifically I can demonstrate necessity.
I don't
from
think he said
quantum-
scientifically I can
quantum-
demonstrate necessity. I don't think he
Yeah,
said
well,
that.
why did he appeal to quantum objects then?
Because he was giving you an example of a kind of thing that can be necessary.
Well, he didn't show how it can be necessary. He just jumped the
That
gun.
wasn't his burden.
Yes, his burden was to show that this can be necessary. In this, by the way,
I'm
in
sorry,
the same
you're
way
right,
as
you're
just
right.
because
To show
he
that it
was
can be
defending-
necessary is different from showing that it is necessary. Because, like, you know, the point is that,
Right,
like,
showing that something can be necessary.
yeah, like
while-
epistemically.
While something that can be necessary while it maintains contingency relations.
You're
is
confusing
impossible.
ontology. You're confusing ontology with epistemics. Something
No,
can
I'm
you
not.
like you
I'm
can.
not. I'm talking
you
about
absolutely yeah. And so I
I
was
didn't
using
talk about
the
how we
language.
can know something.
I was using the language epistemically. So I was saying that, like, if you can show that something can be necessary in the sense that, like, we have good reason to think that this is like an epistemic possibility, then that's all you need to do. Epistemic possibility is or can be consistent with necessity.
He also lied about this.
Yeah, what else
He
did he
said
lie about?
that
Let's hear
there's
it.
no change. He said there's no change in an atomic activity or atomic physical activity. There's
yeah.
no,
So
there's
if
no,
you have this
there's no
hydrogen
movement.
atom,
He said there.
Yeah, I was there
he
for that.
said there's no movement in a particle. That's bullshit.
Yeah. If you just have an atom that's just like if the atom's like moving through space, like, of course it's moving. But if you just have an atom sitting there, no, then it's static. There's no thing moving.
Is there no kinetic energy?
There is kinetic energy, but that doesn't imply movement, though.
Okay, kinetic energy by definition inherently is movement.
No, that's a classical definition.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not a classical definition.
Yes, it is.
By the way, wait. But kinetic energy is a classical property.
No, you can talk about kinetic energy.
Is to have movement.
No.
By the way,
you're a little confused. You can definitely have kinetic energy in a quantum sense.
I'm
the
not
kinetic
talking
energy
about.
would just
By
be
the
the
way, I'm not talking
expectation
about
value
movement.
of half the
No
momentum
problem.
squared operator divided by the mass. Or
when I say movement, by the way, I'm not talking about like a ball floating around.
You're not talking about a
that's
thing
not
being
the-
in
that's
different
not the movement I'm
places?
talking about.
Are you talking about things being
yeah,
in different places?
Yeah, things.
Okay, because
things being in
not-
different places
there's no
at different rates.
Right, so there's no thing in the atom that's in different places at different times. If the atom is, a stable atom, of course. Like it's
Yes,
in
there
a
is.
static configuration or a stationary configuration.
It's
what
not.
is
it's
the
not
thing that's
completely
moving?
Stationary.
What's the thing that's moving? Tell me.
The stationary. I'm gonna pull up my notes here because I.
What's the thing that's moving? I'd love to know.
He's look, all this means is that that the spatial probability cloud remains stable and time independent, right? But there is actual kinetic energy and momentum.
Yeah,
right?
the probability
that's
clouds have
movement.
kinetic energy. No, it's not movement.
But that's movement and
It's not
therefore
movement.
change.
No, it's not movement. You're confused.
It is movement.
No, when we say that the kinetic energy is non-zero, what we mean is the expectation value of the momentum squared divided by 2m. That expectation value is non-zero.
That's just mathematics.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
talking
what
about
kinetic
the fact
energy
that
is
for
at a quantum
anything
level.
to have kinetic, for anything to have kinetic energy and actually express that, it needs movement.
That's a metaphysical claim, which is false.
That's not a metaphysical claim. What?
It is a metaphysical claim, yeah.
What? It's
Talking about the
just basic
metaphysics of
physics.
motion? That's absolutely a metaphysical claim.
All right.
And it's like
So-
strictly false, by the way. So that's goal 2
So
for
when
quanta.
I say movement, so sure. So you're saying the actual particle, like the electron, right?
The
does
electron is
not
the cloud,
have
by the
any
way.
Change does not have fine. Yeah, but it's obvious it's a cloud because it has like a quantum state, right? But there is a change in
What's the
that
change?
state.
What's the change?
It's the kinetic energy.
No, but what's the change? What's the thing that's changing?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about in a classical sense? I don't care about.
No, what's the thing that's changing at all?
Wait. Okay, let me ask you: is there a change?
No, it's stationary. That's the point.
What the fuck? Stationary in what sense? In a classical sense? Yeah, sure.
No.
But there is a
very
change that can be
technical
quantified.
sense that it is an eigenvalue of the Hamiltonian operator.
Yeah, but the change can be quantified.
What's the change then?
Of the kinetic energy, it can be quantified.
The kinetic energy is not changing.
Wait, then what is it producing if it's not changing?
What is what producing?
The electrons. What's the wait? Hold on.
What do you mean? What is it
Because
producing? They're just sitting there. They're just there.
Wait. I looked this up. Do electrons move? Right, and I looked up the
They
text.
can move if you like shoot them.
No,
But they
it's
don't.
not
They don't move in
can.
an electron.
They do.
Or they don't move in an
They
atom.
do move. They do
No, they
move
don't.
because movement is kinetic energy.
Again, that's another claim. It's false. Like the state is stationary.
Okay. Yeah, stationary as in the probability, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, the electron
It
is the
doesn't change over
probability.
time. That's
The electron
fine.
is the
I don't know why you
probability
keep
cloud.
conflating mathematics with the actual physical
I'm not
state of the
Because the
particle.
physical state is the probability cloud.
No, it's not. No, it's not, bro.
Oh,
Like,
then
the
what is it?
kinetic
What is the
energy
physi-
is
what-
not
what
is
is the
not
phys-
the, is not the probability itself.
No, the kinetic
Look,
kinetic
do you
energy
take,
isn't.
like,
The
this-
state is.
Wait, do you take this
Obviously.
interpretation? Do you take this interpretation of Schrödinger's, where like it says that the particle is in two different states at the same time, like, and you equate that with the actual
particles can be, yeah.
the probability? No, they
so-
can't. The thing is, they
Really?
can't. They're not. Okay, so this is where
Oh,
the
wait a
problem
minute.
is.
So you
You're saying-
just
you're
think
saying
quantum mechanics is false.
one quantum. No, I just think your interpretation is either outdated or is bullshit. Right? The
You think that
quantum state
superposition
is
isn't
not-
real?
The quantum, no, I think is real, but I don't think it represents an actual two state of one particle at the same time. It
No,
just,
no,
it
it's
just
a
means that the
different kind of state. It's a
it
different
just
kind of
means that
state.
the
It's not two states at the
probability-
same time. It's a different kind of state.
No, it's just a mathematical state where like you have two
No, it's an actual
probabilities
state.
at the same time. No.
Okay,
It's-
so
it's
you're just
two
rejecting
probabilities
quantum mechanics
being-
then.
It's two probability at the same time.
Yeah, that's
But the actual state
probabilities.
cannot be.
The probabilities
but
is
the
entirely
actual
captured
state-
by the state is entirely
Yeah,
captured by the
but- okay,
probabilities.
then let me just ask you: is it not that the state itself is revealed or expressed after some kind of interaction?
No, you're making the same mistake that Einstein did 75 years ago, or actually like 100 years ago.
Right. So without
No, there's not
observation,
some
quantum-
there's not some
a
actual
quantum
state
particle
that
is
is
just
real,
in two different
even
states at the
underneath.
same time.
No, it's just in a third kind of state called the superposition. But yes, that's actually what's real.
But
That's actually what quantum mechanics says.
do you think the Bell's theorem doesn't prove that a particle which is coupled, or sorry, what is it?
Bell's theorem proves you wrong about this, by the way.
No, it doesn't.
It
No,
absolutely, or the Bell experiments.
Bell's
It absolutely does.
theorem does not
It proves
prove
that
me
there
wrong.
is no local observable that describes a particle was actually here, even though it was in a superposition. That's what Bell's
by the
theorem
way,
does.
I'm just
Unless you get rid of
having
causality,
a-
of course.
I'm just having a whatever conversation about quantum
Yeah, no,
physics.
you don't
I
get to
really-
say, oh, this
I
is
don't
just a
really-
whatever
I
conversation.
don't
You,
really-
you accuse my friend of
yeah,
lying.
I don't care. By the way,
You accuse my friend of lying, so
all I
no, it's
came
not
here
just
to
whatever.
show, all I came here to show is that Quanta did lie, and he did lie.
And you've been
I-
wrong
and I
every single
proved it,
time.
and I proved it. And I
Oh,
proved
well,
that he lied.
we will let people be the judge
He
of
lied,
that,
he lied, he
but
lied.
I think that you'll find that in fact,
And you saying
no,
hold
he
on,
didn't
and you
lie.
saying that you saying that kinetic energy is not movement is also a lie. So you also lied.
Not at the quantum scale. It's not.
It is.
It's not. You just don't know what quantum mechanics is, I guess. But sure, tell a physicist who,
Right.
is published in physics and also published in mathematics, by the way, who went to school for this for 10 years. 10 years? Something like that. Tell me that I'm wrong about this when you don't even know the first thing about it. That's definitely the level of hubris that I expect from a theist.
That has nothing to do with my theism, by the way. Like, I don't even need quantum physics.
No,
to
but it's exactly
justify my
expected.
worldview. This is
It's
this is
exactly
irrelevant.
it is relevant. The point is that the fact that you're a theist increases my credence that you would have this degree of hubris.
Well, I know highly far more intelligent quantum physicists than you who are theists. I don't see how that's correlated. By the way, that's just like anecdotes.
What? I didn't talk. I didn't give you an anecdote. I'm telling you why my credence increased that your hubris is so high, and it's because you're a theist.
Okay, nice, bro.
Anyway, anything else you want to accuse Quanta of doing so then I can slap you around a bit? Or do you want to call it there?
Wait, I have a third note.
Yeah, what's the third thing that Quanta lied about?
Yeah, he lied about relative simultaneity being proof or evidence of eternal states of affairs, which is BS.
I don't think he said that it was evidence of eternal states of affairs. I think he said it's evidence
did,
of the
he
B
did, he
theory
did.
of time.
I asked him. By the way, I asked him
think-
very explicitly. Is that proof that we observed eternity? He said yes.
I
we
was
observed
there for
eternity,
this. I
bro.
don't think he said that,
That's
but people
bullshit.
can correct me.
No, he said that. By the way, he said that.
It's so what is it? What it is it's
literally a
evidence
recording
of the
on
B
YouTube,
theory
bro.
of time.
The recording, no, it's not evidence. By the way, it's
It
not
is.
even.
It is.
By the
It
way,
is absolutely evidence. By the way.
What is it?
By the way, I
called?
can't believe that you called me low tier when this is how you're behaving. Like this is hilarious.
Well, I think you're low tier in metaphysics and philosophy.
I think you're low tier in philosophy too, but at least I know physics.
No, I'm not.
It's seemingly you are.
And your physics doesn't seem to support your metaphysical views. Which is,
sure
unfortunately,
does.
you're trying to fool the audience by using all these concepts to say, oh, well, it can be necessary, it can be contingent. When obviously it doesn't obviously even represent the real world.
What do you mean it doesn't obviously represent the real world? Where's your evidence of that?
Yeah, all these interactions, like you literally read in the textbook.
You mean
quote
the
that I showed you.
self interactions?
It doesn't.
The self interactions that only require a single field? In the
No, I mean
textbook
the
that you
same
said
textbook.
was
The
evidence?
textbook quote that says it does not represent the real world.
The textbook that says
You
free
can read the
fields
same.
don't represent the real world.
Again.
Yeah, free fields don't. Interacting fields do.
Yeah, free fields.
Free fields are not.
Wait,
free fields are not the same as single fields.
alright,
If you
I'm
have a
not gonna go
single
back into
scalar
this, bro. This is
field,
bullshit,
if you
bro.
have a single,
I'm not gonna go back into
it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I did not
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
I did
yeah,
not.
bullshit. Yep.
The point is free fields don't have interactions. Single scalar fields can have self interactions. Why are you so why are you so adamant about this? Like this is the dumbest thing that you could do.
The reason why I'm even talking about this whole thing to begin with is because you are conflating physics with metaphysics and saying that because
No,
you
I'm
have
just letting the physics lead my metaphysics. That's
you can
all.
have some kind of you can have some kind of particle or quantum field or object that can have some sort of state which can be represented
quantum state, yeah.
of quote unquote a god, right? A god that is self-sufficient.
Oh, who made
doesn't
that
need an
claim? Who said
explanation.
that you can have a quantum state that is like
Quanta
a god?
and Justin. Wait, Quanta and
Hold
Justin.
on. Let me just double check. And I can just ask him because I think he's in the
They
comments.
literally even try to make an
Did
argument.
he say
against
that?
it to
Did he
equate
say
that
that
with
that,
God.
that a quantum state can
They
be a
said,
god?
They said what's the difference between God and a quantum particle?
Yeah, asking what's the difference doesn't mean that they are the same thing. Quanta, did you say that a quantum state is a god?
No, Justin was asking him.
And,
What's the
and you were
difference between
defending that Quanta.
your God and just a quantum
you were
field?
defending that.
Because he seemed to be implying that it didn't have a mind, or that it didn't need one.
No, that's not even what I entail. By the way, you guys are just liars, bro. What the fuck, bro? I did not say that.
I mean,
I said
so. Quanta didn't say this. So can you admit that you just lied about what Quanta said?
Said what that.
That Quanta said.
Yeah, again, you're mixing me
to
up
God?
with Justin.
No, he did. You
And
did try
again,
to equate
Justin
that.
was
You
saying
did.
this
You
about
did.
Who else is
You
here?
asked the
about
same
your
question.
views.
You
Hey,
asked the same question that he did. Oh, hey.
Speak of the
oh,
devil.
Hey, liars. Hi. Hey, speaking of the devil. Hey.
Yeah, speaking of the
So-
devil, so what happened
yeah, so-
was this guy was
yeah.
running a really bad contingency argument, and I was trying to explain to him that if the thing that is the cause is non-sentient and is not an agent, that's not a god. So, for example, if fields are fundamental and they're necessary, and he's like, well, that's just a god, the way I described it. Like, no, a god has to be an actual agent. And so I asked him, what's the difference between a non-thinking, non-agent god and a fundamental necessary field? And he couldn't figure it out.
literally what I just said.
So we just keep lying. Nice, bro.
It's recorded.
What I specifically, you can go back to the recording, right? I'm gonna say this one last time because I'm
Also,
not gonna
I
waste my
gotta,
time. Like
I gotta go
restating something that was already
get
stated.
some groceries.
fine.
Love you guys.
Yeah, bye.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.
What I specifically said as in relation to the argument that I'm about to show, I don't need to demonstrate a mind. The belief I have about a God can motivate, or I can motivate that it has a mind with other arguments, no problem, right? But as far as in this argument, I don't need to demonstrate a mind. I
Then you're
need
not
to
demonstrating a
demonstrate
God.
metaphysical necessity.
Then you're not
I
demonstrating
am
a god,
demonstrating-
right?
Just because you're arguing for a part of a set of properties, right, of an object, doesn't mean you don't believe that the other part of the set is real either. That's not
Right.
that's
So,
not what
but
it
your
is.
argument would be consistent with a non-god, right?
My argument will be consistent with any deity that is
It would be consistent with a
metaphysically
non-deity.
necessary.
It'd be consistent with something that's
Metaphysically
physically necessary.
necessary.
That's all.
Yeah, metaphysically necessary, and it has specific properties. It's eternal.
Yep.
It's all powerful, right? Yeah, sure. But
Yeah, and that doesn't have
that's
to be a
not,
god.
like-
So, like your view, so
Yeah,
that
all
argument is
you're
consistent,
saying-
can be consistent
all
with
you- all you're saying
atheism.
when you say it doesn't have to be a god, you're just saying it doesn't have to have a mind. That's
Yes.
fine. But
Yes,
that
that's
doesn't,
exactly it.
That wouldn't equate to what Quanta was trying to say by lying and saying, oh, that can be equated to a quantum particle.
Again, I'm not the one who said that. Justin was.
Oh, okay. So you want to throw him under
And
the
I
bus.
agree with him,
Cool.
regardless.
All right. Okay. Cool.
But the point is that such a thing could be like a fundamental quantum state that is the necessary thing, and that certainly
Actually,
won't have a
look,
mind.
actually-
that won't
actually-
have it won't have
couldn't,
agency or a
actually
will. Oh, it couldn't. It couldn't be
Actually
a
couldn't.
fundamental
Yeah, it
quantum state. Crazy.
Yeah, because there is a principle in which if it was a mechanistic being, okay. Now I'm gonna make a point. If it was a mechanistic being that created the universe, right? Mechanistic beings don't have free will, obviously.
Mhm.
So as long as the sufficient condition is met, right, for the creation to occur, then that will be the case. And for a specific action to occur, there's no symmetry breaker between when it's going to happen at one point versus
Yeah.
another,
So the point
right?
is that
And
there's
it's
no
gonna be an
time for this
eternal-
quantum
and
state.
then it's going to be an eternal act of creating.
There's no
which is gonna be a
action. There's no
contradiction.
action that's happening. It is just the fundamental state, and everything emerges from it. Emergence is not a temporal thing that
that
happens.
is action. That is a change, dude.
It's
Like,
not.
can we
It's
just not, like,
literally. It's not a change.
it's-
Emergence is not a change.
Stop being full of shit. It is change.
Do you even know what
Change
emergence is?
Change
Do you know,
just means.
hold on. Quit.
I don't think he
Quit just
does.
making shit up.
Yeah,
Do you know what emergence is?
Emergent just means that something that is that is not within a specific particle, but as if you zoom out, like it's something that becomes present in like the total set of particles.
Yeah. So is it a change when let's say that you have like a trillion water molecules next to each other, right? At I don't know, at 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
But that's contingent.
Please,
let's
don't cut me off. Don't cut me off.
That's contingent.
Don't cut me off. I'm trying to explain emergence. So you have a trillion water particles at 20 degrees Celsius, all next to each other. There's some set of interactions between them. You know, they behave quantum mechanically. It's all this very complicated stuff. But if you zoom out pops emergently, out pops fluid dynamics, a new kind of behavior that isn't evident
that's
from the lower lying behavior. That's what emergence is, and that's not a temporal thing.
Okay, that's contingency.
Yeah, the emergent stuff is contingent on the underlying stuff.
No, not the emergent stuff. The fact that there are other stuff need to be grouped up together is a.
This is yes, water is contingent. Yeah, like water molecules are contingent.
Cool. So then it's irrelevant to the hypothetical.
I wasn't giving you a hypothetical to describe a necessary thing. I was explaining what emergence is because apparently you don't know what it is.
But it's not analogous. No, I know what. I know
it's perfectly
what it is.
analogous.
Like,
you can have a necessary thing from which other structures emerge.
No problem, but these structures are not representative of what I would say a god is. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a god. The underlying quantum state is necessary, and the stuff that emerges from it is not necessary.
All I say when I say God,
or it's necessary depending on your view of
necessarily has a mind here. Okay.
Okay, so then you're just not talking about God.
So I'm saying it has to be necessary. When you're talking about
the quantum state is necessary in this view.
Emergent properties appear from a set of contingent interactions.
No, not necessarily.
Yes, necessarily. In the example you gave me, that was the case.
Yeah, it was an example. I wasn't claiming that was an example of a necessary thing.
It wasn't analogous.
It wasn't. I wasn't giving you an example of necessity giving rise to contingency. I was giving you an example. Stop talking while I'm answering your question. Stop talking. You have no capability of letting someone finish a thought.
Okay.
I was giving you an example of what emergence is.
Okay.
Because you clearly didn't know what it was, so I was explaining what emergence is. That's
I did know it. I literally explained it to you before you gave me an example.
Apparently not, because you think it's an event. You think it's a thing that happens. It's not a thing that happens.
No, I didn't say it's an event. I said, I said this verbatim. I said it's something where a specific particle or a singular object does not have, but when you zoom out and you look at the different interactions between multiple particles, it becomes present, right? Which obviously, by the way, it's by the way, emergent properties are just bullshit hocus pocus, right? It's not
bullshit hocus pocus. Okay. Sorry. Can you explain what hydrodynamics is then?
It's saying abracadabra, right? It's saying that.
Can you explain what hydrodynamics is? Actually, interestingly enough, you can actually prove that emergence exists. By the way, yeah, go ahead. Feels bad to be interrupted, doesn't it?
Don't forget cold QCD as well.
Oh, being wet is a property of like water molecules coming together because each individual particle is not wet itself, right? Is this an argument?
That's a view of what emergence can be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's technically weak emergence.
That doesn't explain that it's emergent because
that's just what emergence is.
All we can describe is that it's part of the nature or the property of the molecules. When they're coupled like this, they will produce an effect, right? That's not emergent property. Emergent property is when you don't have the capability or the inherent property of a particle or an object to produce these stuff when coupled together with other variables.
What's an inherent property?
Inherent property means anything from within the essence of a subject or an object.
Okay, so we're just doing like Delulu metaphysics.
Any particle. What do you mean Delulu metaphysics? Are you confused about what I'm saying?
We're talking about physics here. We're not talking about like the essence of a particle.
Anything. But when I say essence, I'm just saying the total set of properties of a subject.
Okay, so what are the total set of properties of a hydrogen?
Confinement is
I don't know the properties. What I have to show you is that we don't have to hold this view of emergent properties.
Okay, you don't, but not everybody agrees with you. So
that's fine. You don't have to agree. I'm saying there's no evidence to back up this idea of emergent properties.
Sure, there is. I mean, you can fully describe a water molecule without saying anything about wetness, and yet when you put a bunch of water molecules together, you get wetness. It's a full. You can fully describe the water molecule.
The reason why that happens isn't because of some property that emerged. It's because of the fact that each particle itself has this ability or inherent property to produce some effect called wetness when coupled with other variables. That's it.
Prove it. And by the way, just as an interesting.
Wait. How about you prove?
Just as an interesting point.
Emergent properties.
Yeah. So in fact, there's actually a really nice
example. Mine is actually.
I can actually find one for you. No, yours actually doesn't explain how it works at all.
It's actually more explanatory. No,
can you explain how? Can you explain how? there's a paper I'm looking for that I read that was quite interesting. It was like non-computable number emerging from underlying quantum system. It was on the archive. This is that's roughly what was happening. I just need to find the paper. It was like strong emergence or something. This paper? Oh, it's not this paper. Emergence in computation at the edge of classical. Is it this one? It was like 3 years ago. I can probably go find it. I can roughly describe what happens. So there are these things called non-computable numbers, or the like non-computable quantities, or you can encode, for example, undecidable. Maybe it was undecidable actually, like undecidable propositions. You can describe these numerically. And the point is that you can actually encode undecidable problems into a quantum state without those problems being encoded in the fundamental things that make it up. And so you end up with something that literally cannot be decided based off of the underlying phenomena, but it can be once you have the system as a whole. So like it literally can't be determined from just the underlying structure. Is it this? Consequences of undecidability in physics? Yeah, it can be
determined from the I don't know why you're supporting my view. It can be supported from the underlying structure of the actual. No, that. If it can be supported from the
emergence to happen to get the undecidable thing.
Look, if all you mean by emergence is that the property being expressed by a group is not expressed by the individual or the part, then
yes,
sure,
that's
I agree.
That's literally what emergence is.
But that's not okay. But you're saying emergence as if these particles themselves don't inherently have the capability or the ability to do that when
I don't know what you mean by inherently,
which is to be coupled by other people.
I don't know what you mean by inherently.
Inherently just means from within like the object. Like it's an actual property of the object. Like it's from within it. It doesn't gain it from the outside.
I don't think anybody's ever making that claim.
Of the object that it could lead to emergence.
I'm saying
but that doesn't mean that emergence doesn't exist.
Okay, I'm saying my view is more explanatory because it doesn't show some kind
Your
of
view doesn't explain it.
Some weird like change of or not change but like some weird like appearance of a state that is not expressed or explained by the actual subject itself, like the specific particles.
Take the example that I gave you. Suppose that I handed you a single one of these particles that you've formed together to reproduce an in which an undecidable problem emerges. Could you figure out what the answer to the undecidable problem is just by examining the properties of the particle?
No.
Right. So then there's something new that happens when you put a lot of them together, because now by examining all of them together, you can determine the outcome of the undecidable thing.
Yeah. So
there's something new. That new thing is the thing that emerges.
And again, this is something we directly see in experimentation with cold QCD all the time. You cannot derive all.
Do you think expression of a particle
by investigating the quarks individually?
Look, I think at this point, I think we're just talking across each other, even though we agree on something, right? About the specific emergence, right? All I'm saying is the emergence isn't something completely alien to the actual individual particle. The individual particle itself has this condition in which if it's coupled with other particles of a similar type or other variables, it will produce that. Yeah, that is part of its actual. Yes, but that is explained.
That's not a property
by
of the
the individual. But that is explained by the individual particle.
It's explained by the individual particle? Apparently not. If there's something that's undecidable.
Again,
I mean, it's undecidable. We just know the effects. We just know the effects of.
Even if you could,
I really have to find this paper.
Even if you investigated a single quark, you would not be able to determine what the properties of an entire proton should be from that.
Quanta. Do electrons have any kinetic energy?
They have kinetic energy, but they do not change with time in a stable
do
atom.
they have spatial? Do they have spatial change?
No. The wave function does not change with time.
Does the shape of the
wave
wave not change?
independent. No.
Does the shape
it is
of the wave
time
not-
independent.
Okay. Right. Does it have
don't
any
think this is the
temporal?
paper.
There is
phase
literally no
changes?
t in the equation.
Okay, bro.
You should read less metaphysics and read more physics.
Nah, to be honest, no. Like,
Okay, well then don't.
As long
then don't try
as long as you're not
to
guys,
debunk
as long as you guys
physics
are not
when you
giving
don't
me
know
reasons,
what it is.
Well, I think you should read more metaphysics and read less physics.
Cool claim.
Because
Yeah, let's
every
be less
single
grounded in
every single
reality.
example,
Right, that makes
every
sense.
single example you gave me, Blitz, okay, was not sufficient to determine if something that can be necessary, metaphysically necessary or not.
I never made the claim that it could determine whether something is
That's
metaphysically
fine.
necessary. I said
I'm
that,
glad
it is,
that you
that it is
are
conceivable
at
that
least
it is.
honest about this.
I said that it is
right?
conceivable
Unlike some
that it
people,
is. I said that
okay,
it is conceivable that it is.
If it's
Yeah.
if something can be conceivable to be the case or not to be the case, then by definition it's not necessary. Like if you can conceive it to
Hold
be
on,
another way,
conceivability says
if you
nothing
can-
about.
if you-
I'm sorry.
if
So
you
wait,
can
can
conceive
I?
it
So
to
I
be
can conceive
another
God
way-
not existing.
Oh well, no, not in a way where.
Oh well, no.
if you hold
Yeah,
to
I just did
metaphy-
it. I just did it. I'm
Hold
doing
on,
it again.
hold
I did
on.
it again.
Not-
Man,
not-
I'm
not if
just
you hold
killing
to
gods
metaphysical
today.
commitments.
Let
Not
me
if you hold to
hear-
metaphysical commitments. Not,
Yep,
not if
I
you
hold to metaphysical commitments.
What's-
I do hold
Wait,
to
what
metaphysical
are your
commitments, and I'm
metaphysical
conceiving of
commitments,
God
then?
not existing.
Look, they shows with when you talk about necessity and all this metaphysics, you don't actually know the conditions you need to hold to in order to make
Yeah,
an
I do.
argument about necessity.
I think I actually know more
Alright,
about this stuff
okay,
than you
good.
do. Even though I'm
Alright,
just
cool.
a lowly physicist, I actually
So-
think I know more about this stuff than you do.
All right, so can you show logical contradictions of something without holding to metaphysical commitments? Besides it being like some analytical truth.
The logical contradictions are only analytical contradictions. That's what a logical
No, they're
contradiction is.
not.
Anything
No,
anything
I
else is
can
metaphysics.
Show, what? I can show a P, not P, from a metaphysical claim. What are you talking about?
Then it's a metaphysical contradiction.
No, it's not a metaphysical. No,
Yeah,
that just
of
means
course
that,
it is. What are you talking about?
Oh, it just means. Oh my god! It just means that this metaphysical thing can't exist in any possible world. That means it makes it logically impossible for this
Wait,
metaphysical
any
being.
possible? Are we talking about metaphysical modality with regards to possible world semantics, or are we talking about logical modality?
I'm saying if you're talking about a metaphysical being,
You don't
which
even know,
is
do you?
a contradiction, right? That contradiction would not be able to exist in any possible world, which makes it a logical contradiction.
Only if the
Not-
metaphysics is
not
true in every possible
possible.
in every possible world, right?
Now, a metaphysical contradiction would be something like, okay, you hold to a definition of like something, like a specific property of a something, right? And if you say, oh, well, that's something doesn't have that property, sure, that will be a metaphysical contradiction. That means this.
No, that's an analytic
metaphysical
truth.
being cannot
It's an
be.
analytic contradiction. What are you
No,
talking
it's
about?
not. Oh my god, no.
Yeah,
No.
it is.
If I said
it's
if I
an
said
analytic
bachelor's-
contradiction. It's an analytic contradiction that a married bachelor can't exist.
Okay.
Or rather, that's
No,
an
that
analytic
is
contradiction,
an
right?
example of that. But if
That's
I
an
said
analytic
like,
contradiction. So if you're just talking about the
hold on,
definition of a thing, that's analytic.
not just definition. I'm saying the set of properties of a subject which are metaphysically predicated, right? If I say God has a mind, right, and you say God doesn't have a mind, right? That's just a metaphysical contradiction where you could have a world where
Wait, two
God
people
doesn't have a
disagreeing
mind.
isn't a contradiction.
Okay, I'm not making a point. I'm not done, right? I'm saying you could have a world where God doesn't have a mind, right? That wouldn't be a logical contradiction. But to have a God that has a mind and doesn't have a mind at the same time is a metaphysical claim that is logically contradictory. Cannot
That's
exist
not a
in any possible
metaphysical
world.
claim. That's a logical claim. X has Y.
No, it's
X does not have Y.
If
That
I
is a
predicate
logical
proper-
contradiction.
Predicating properties is a metaphysical claim. It's not a logical claim. What are you talking about?
The thing's existence is a metaphysical claim, but the contradiction is a logical contradiction. It's not a metaphysical one.
No, the claim is metaphysical.
No.
The contradiction is logical.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah. No, yeah.
You sound sleepy, bro.
I'm not.
All right. Well, you should go consider taking a nap anyway.
Kind of kept him up all night.
That makes sense. All right, I kicked him out. He's done. I think that it's been demonstrated that he was not only was he acting in bad faith, but he was also lying about you.
Yeah,
but I
if
did
he's
have to
still in the
look for, like, an
comments,
hour.
my DMs are open, and I will accept your apology anytime.
And also maybe like some compensation for your reputational loss.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'll talk to you later, but I gotta end the live.
Later.
Let's read some super chats and then we will end the live. We were supposed to end it like an hour ago, but you know, Bang holds a special place in my heart for being a locale. From Christopher Sanford with the £5. The Electro Weak Symmetry Breaker is gonna get him. Oh, if I had a penny for every time I've heard that, yeah, right. Because like the funny thing is that you can actually have like 2 fields. In fact, 4 fields emerge from 1 field. This is what happens in Electro Weak Symmetry Breaking. I guess it's 3 fields. From Garain with the $5. Yeah, I don't understand this, but I for sure know Bang doesn't understand and doesn't want to. He wants to interpret it to justify his worldview. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. From Mr. Jack F with the $5. Thanks for the Theist Smackdown. Very entertaining. I do my best. From Melch Knows Best with the $2. Here's for working overtime. Enjoy your Friday. I may very well. Thank you. From 49 Perfects with the $2. Bang's arrogance is matched only by his ignorance. True. That's a good one. All right, so that is all we have. Just double checking, making sure that we do have a Venmo from Charles with the $10. Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate that. He says, keep up the great work. Well, you too, Charles. Keep up the great work, whatever it is that you do. All right, that is everything. I'm going to end the live. I will see you guys Sunday. Take care, everybody.